Chapter 165. The one who launched the sneak attack was Wei Zhuan. He looked uncouth, but in fact he was not stupid. He took advantage of the moment when Yang Wu let his guard down to launch a sneak attack. Moreover, he attacked with all his strength and did not hold back at all. Wei Zhuan and Zhou Yong were both still in the advanced general realm. A full-strength attack definitely had the power to threaten a top-level general realm cultivator. Be careful! Zhou Yong didn't know whether it was because he had a conscience or because Yang Wu had shown mercy to him, but he shouted a warning to Yang Wu. Yang Wu acted as if he didn't hear Zhou Yong shout and asked Zhou Yong, "Do you still want to continue?" When the little man saw that Yang Wu didn't react, she couldn't help but cry out involuntarily, "Young master, be careful." Wan Lanxin and Yin Mingzheng were extremely nervous. They felt that Yang Wu must have been careless. How could he still have the leisure to communicate with others? This was a life-and-death battlefield. Every minute and every second was dangerous. How could he underestimate his opponent? "I admit defeat, quickly dodge," Zhou Yong reminded without even thinking about it. Yang Wu was the first person to break his 13 swords. He really didn't want to see Yang Wu get killed like this. Unfortunately, Wei Zhuan's saber light had already rolled down and was about to cut Yang Wu in half. Everyone held their breaths. They all felt that Yang Wu was finished just like that. At the same time, they felt that this battle had ended a little too quickly. It was completely out of their expectations. They felt that Yang Wu could at least struggle a little and wouldn't be defeated so quickly. Bang! The saber light fell and profound qi exploded. Wei Zhuan really did cut Yang Wu, but there was no joy on his face. There was only deep shock and fear. He cried out involuntarily, "How? How is this possible?" At first, he thought that Yang Wu would definitely die. However, Yang Wu still had his back to him and was completely unharmed. He didn't even move his position at all. It was as if his saber strike was just a bluff and he hadn't attacked at all. In reality, it wasn't that he didn't attack, but that Yang Wu's body had an extra layer of incomparably thick profound armor. This sparkling and translucent profound armor was like a battle suit. It was extremely realistic, and its defensive power had already reached a level where it was impervious to swords and spears, water and fire. Battle armor? The Rose of Death said with a trace of surprise. The human general realm could only form Xian armor, which could block ordinary attacks. Only after entering the Earthsea realm could they form battle armor, and their defensive power would rise to a higher level. Yang Wu was clearly not a king, yet he was able to form a battle armor. She could not understand this. Perhaps he cultivated a defensive battle technique down. This was the thought that she and the others shared. Of course, Yang Wu didn't cultivate a defensive battle technique. This was all because he had entered the initial stage of the human general realm and opened 720 acupoints. His acupoints were connected together, and the profound qi in his dantian was vigorous. Furthermore, it was the prenatal profound essence qi. All these factors combined to form Yang Wu's unique defensive profound armor. He had already begun to condense it when he was in the warrior realm. Now that he had broken through, it was naturally even more condensed. How could it be difficult for him to block an all-out attack from an advanced general realm cultivator? Yang Wu clearly wanted to show off in front of so many people. "You have the nerve to go on stage and make a fool of yourself with such little strength? Why don't you get lost like your cow?" Yang Wu turned around and said to Wei Zhuan faintly, "Impossible. It must be an illusion. Die." Wei Zhuan roared. All the muscles in his body tightened, and he mobilized all his strength again. The saber in his hand released a strength of 120 feet. The saber wildly slashed at Yang Wu. Bang! Bang! Wei Zhuan slashed 7 or 8 times in a row. Each slash left a deep crack in the ground. A lot of dust was sent flying continuously. The destructive power was truly astonishing. Zhou Yong was forced to retreat from the battlefield, but he still didn't forget Yang Wu, who had yet to make a move. He also wanted to see if Yang Wu was really strong enough to ignore the attack of an advanced general realm cultivator. The others were also watching. No one blinked, for fear of missing the most exciting moment. "Are you done slashing?" At some point, Yang Wu had already ignored Wei Zhuan's attack and arrived in front of him. He grabbed Wei Zhuan's arm, who was still about to swing his saber, and asked coldly. Wei Zhuan instantly broke out in a cold sweat. He really couldn't hurt Yang Wu at all. This was a huge blow to him. Swoosh! Suddenly, a tiny embroidery needle shot out. The sound of it cutting through the air was almost negligible. At the same time, its existence was invisible to the naked eye. It went straight for Yang Wu's eyes. Only the rose of death and the cold-faced adjutant sensed the appearance of the embroidery needle. They stared at Yang Wu to see if Yang Wu could withstand this invisible attack. "Didn't you hear me?" Yang Wu asked again. Wei Zhuan's Adam's apple squirmed. He wanted to answer Yang Wu, but Yang Wu suddenly threw him to the side and used him to block his side. The embroidery needle flashed past and directly pierced Wei Zhuan's cheek. He let out a heart-wrenching scream in pain. If Yang Wu's reaction had been a little slower, the embroidery needle would have pierced his eye from the side. This was an extremely vicious attack. Yang Wu broke out in a cold sweat. If it weren't for the fact that his divine court Dao flower had bloomed and his reaction speed had increased by several times, it would have been difficult for him to discover this sudden attack. Yang Wu's gaze locked on his Xueji. A wave of killing intent emanated from him as he shouted, "It's you." Xueji smiled like a beautiful woman and replied, "Hee, didn't you want to fight 8 by yourself? What's so strange about me attacking? However, it's a pity that you dodged it." "That's right. You should all attack at the same time." After Yang Wu replied, he lifted Wei Zhuan's strong body and threw him out of the challenge stage. Just like that, only 6 of the 8 vice commanders were left. These 6 people were completely aware of Yang Wu's strength. It was worth it for them to attack together. Otherwise, they would be defeated one by one. Violent Dragon jumped down from the Earth Dragon and shouted, "I'll be the main attacker. You guys cooperate with me." Immediately after, he and his Earth Dragon charged at Yang Wu from the left and right. Violent Dragon fist. Earth Dragon burrowing. Violent Dragon was most proficient in fist techniques. He had studied the Earth Dragon and created his own Violent Dragon fist. The fist energy was ferocious and domineering. It could break through mountains and rocks. It was unstoppable. He was at the peak of the general realm, infinitely close to the king realm. He was second only to Xueji as a vice commander. His fist was like the roar of an Earth Dragon. It was frightening. As for his mount, it burrowed directly into the ground and charged at Yang Wu. Once it broke out of the ground, it would devour Yang Wu alive. The man and his mount worked together seamlessly. However, no one thought that this kind of power was enough to give Yang Wu a headache. The others had to attack as well. Wei Qian raised the Scarlet Flame Sword and shot out a long Scarlet Flame Serpent. The Scarlet Flame Serpent that was 15 feet long gushed out, and in the blink of an eye, it had already arrived at Yang Wu's side. The Scarlet Flame Serpent that was hanging on his body had already spiraled out, aiming straight for Yang Wu's waist. Du Guang Buddha put his palms together and chanted, "Amit Ba." A dark golden light shot out from his Buddha staff. This dark golden Buddhist light was very strange. It actually contained a dense, evil aura that could corrode one's soul. This was probably where the name Evil Buddha came from. Xie Dongyue and Jiang Gengfan also attacked at the same time. One of them sent out a cold palm strike, while the other sent out a beautiful slash. 2 completely different powers sealed off Yang Wu's path of retreat. The 5 vice commanders worked together. The momentum created was very terrifying. The sand and rocks on the ground were already flying, creating a shocking destructive power. Yang Wu, who was in the middle of the challenge stage, was alert. He could clearly sense the attacks of these people. The only one he cared about was Xueji, who had yet to attack. That transvestite was still embroidering, but he knew very well that she would find a suitable opportunity to launch the most fatal attack. The divine court Dao flower has bloomed. My perception is also so strong. This feeling is too wonderful. Yang Wu thought to himself happily and began to attack. He took the lead and charged at the Violent Dragon as fast as he could. He directly punched the Violent Dragon. Bang bang. As the two fists collided, two flowers of profound chi exploded. The tyrannical violent dragon was forced back more than 10 steps by Yang Wu. Before Yang Wu could pursue, the earth dragon rushed out. Its terrifying mouth and sharp teeth bit at Yang Wu with a strong thirst for blood. Yang Wu was already filled with fighting spirit. He did not choose to retreat. He directly kicked out a whip leg. The leg light was like a sickle, directly breaking the earth dragon's mouth. The earth dragon's teeth were broken, and blood quickly spurted out. Yang Wu took the opportunity to jump to the side of the earth dragon. He grabbed its body and shouted, "Rise!" The feeling of being able to pick up a mountain appeared in an instant. He picked up the long earth dragon and used it as a weapon to sweep at the others. Wei Qian, Du Guang Fo, Xie Dongyue, and Jiang Gengfan's attacks either missed or landed on the earth dragon. The earth dragon screamed miserably. Even though the earth dragon's defense was very strong, it was still beaten black and blue. The violent dragon was furious. Yang Wu, put down the earth dragon. The tyrannical dragon attacked again, but Yang Wu was one step ahead and threw the earth dragon at him, shouting, "Here you go." The violent dragon was shocked. He quickly withdrew his fist and went to ground the earth dragon. However, Yang Wu had already taken the opportunity to rush over. Wind God's kick. The others' attacks could not catch up with Yang Wu's speed at all. They all missed. Yang Wu took advantage of the moment when a violent dragon was distracted to ground the earth dragon and punched. Soldier fist. This was the most common fist technique, but contained an inch of force. It hit the violent dragon fiercely. The crisscrossing chains on the violent dragon's body broke, and his body was sent flying like a sandbag, needle hidden in sleeve. Xueji, who was not far away, attacked again. He waved his sleeve, and several embroidery needles shot out at an extremely fast speed. He seized the opportunity very accurately. Yang Wu was once again facing the attacks of the others. It was not easy to dodge his embroidery needles. It could be said that Yang Wu was once again facing a situation where he was surrounded on all sides. Chapter 166. At the temporary challenge platform in the Death Legion, there were more and more onlookers. As long as they were free, the soldiers who were not on duty were constantly rushing in this direction. Even some Dakarches, centurions, and commanders had also rushed over. Among them, there was no lack of Nan Runin, who had just been relieved of duty. She was now very fond of Yang Wu, so she naturally wanted to see his battle. Nan Runin brought a group of her subordinates to cheer for Yang Wu. The cheers were endless, and the momentum was astonishing. Yang Wu will win. Yang Wu is the most handsome. This kind of slogan caused many soldiers to be envious, jealous, and hateful. If they had such support, they would use 200% of their strength to fight the enemy. Sister Lan Xan, young master, is really popular, Little Man whispered to Wan Lanxin. Of course, an outstanding man like him will be liked by even more people in the future, Wan Lanxin said with a slightly jealous tone. Sister Lan Xan, you have to make your move as soon as possible, Little Man said with a mischievous look on her face. He and I can only be brother and sister, Wan Lanxin said as she looked at Yang Wu in the field. It was not that she did not like him, but she was older than him. Generally, people would not accept a woman being older than a man. Of course, this was not the main point. The main point was that Yang Wu already had someone he liked. She knew that he would never give up on her in his heart. On the battlefield, Yang Wu's situation seemed to be very critical, but everything was under his control. He took steps that others could not see clearly, and his figure kept dodging. He was the first to escape the attack of the embroidery needle. Xie Dongyue, who was behind him, was unable to detect the existence of the embroidery needle. She tried to slap Yang Wu's back, but instead of hitting him, she was directly pierced by the embroidery needle. When the embroidery needle pierced through her body, her whole body immediately twitched. Soon, she foamed at the mouth and fell to the ground unconscious. The embroidery needle was poisonous. Xueji, stop shooting needles. Wei Qian stopped attacking and shouted. He was truly afraid of being accidentally injured by Xueji. That would be extremely unlucky. However, the moment Wei Qian paused, Yang Wu had already bypassed Guang Fo's staff attack. The spirit snake's sword in his hand stabbed towards Wei Qi-yin. 12 swords of wind chasing. Yang Wu's attack was many times faster than Zhou Yang's. One sword, 12 stabs, all aimed at Wei Qian's vital points. Wei Qi-yin was at the top of the general realm. His reaction was extremely fast. He kept fending off Yang Wu's attacks. Unfortunately, he only managed to fend off 8 of Yang Wu's attacks. 4 of Yang Wu's attacks still managed to stab his armor, making him spit out blood. If not for the armor, he would have become a ghost under Yang Wu's sword. The difference in strength between the two was not ordinary. Just as Yang Wu was about to heavily injure Wei Qi-yin, the red snake, who had been waiting for an opportunity, came out from a corner and bit at Yang Wu's neck. The red snake's attack was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of Yang Wu. The surrounding people couldn't help but scream. They all felt that the red snake was too good at picking the right time. It was so sudden that it would be difficult for anyone to block it. Yang Wu was indeed a prodigy who had already bloomed the divine court Dao flower. As long as he was on the challenge stage, he could sense everything clearly even without looking. There were no blind spots at all. Therefore, although the red snake's attack was fast, he could still sense it. He didn't even look. He reached out and grabbed the red snake's throat. The snake's tongue was only half a foot away from him. If he had been a little slower, he would have been injured. A little snake dares to be so fierce? Die! Yang Wu shouted. He grabbed the snake's body with his other hand and pulled with both hands. No! Wei Qi-yin cried out. The red snake was his treasure, but now it was torn in half by Yang Wu. He felt a pang of pain in his heart. Yang Wu, you deserve to die. Wei Qi-yin completely exploded. He didn't know when something appeared in his hand, but he threw it at Yang Wu. A dense fog drifted, and an extremely pungent smell spread out. Yang Wu immediately felt his eyes ache, and even felt dizzy. He subconsciously shouted, "Poisonous smoke powder!" Poisonous smoke powder was a vicious thing. It could be considered a type of poisonous smoke. Once it hit someone, it would hurt their eyes. The smell would make them dizzy and nauseous. Yang Wu really didn't expect that someone would use such a method to attack on the battlefield. The situation was very bad. Despicable. Wan Lanxin immediately scolded. Nan Runin also scolded. Shameless person, you actually used poison powder on the challenge stage. You deserve to die. Kick him off the stage. This is against the rules. Yin Mingzheng also cried out for his brother. There are no rules against using poison powder on the challenge stage. Yang Wu can't handle it, so he can't blame anyone. Someone stood on Wei Qian's side and said, although it's unfair, Yang Wu can only blame himself for being careless. Someone else said, this is a challenge stage, not a battlefield. Using such a despicable method to win is unfair. Most people still felt that it wasn't worth it for Yang Wu, but there were also people who felt that the battle relied on their own methods. No one could be blamed if they were hit. The Rose of Death didn't say anything, and the battle continued. Wei Qi-yin saw that Yang Wu was hit and revealed a happy expression. He secretly thought, even if I'm scolded, I can still complete the mission given by Sir Sima. This is nothing. Wei Qi-yin quickly made his move. The Scarlet Flame sword slashed at Yang Wu's neck. He wanted to kill Yang Wu first, and then take all the accessories from Yang Wu's body. The sword was incomparably sharp and directly cut through the throat. Amipa. Duguang Buddha put his palms together and said. He didn't pursue. He also felt that Yang Wu would undoubtedly die. On the contrary, Jiang Gongfan, who had been waiting for an opportunity, raised his scimitar and slashed out a crescent-shaped attack from afar. He wanted to hit Yang Wu while he was down. Everyone thought that Yang Wu would definitely be killed by Wei Qi-yin, but Yang Wu actually predicted it. His figure retreated and dodged Wei Qian's attack. His back took Jiang Gongfan's crescent-shaped attack head-on. Bang! Yang Wu's defense didn't decrease at all. He was completely fine after being slashed by the scimitar. You can dodge the first time, but you can't dodge the second time. Wei Qi-yin shouted. The Scarlet Flame sword burst forth with fiery celestial qi. He slashed out again and again without holding back. He didn't plan to give Yang Wu the slightest chance. Hundreds of snakes swallowed. Every sword ray was like a scarlet, refined snake attacking. Hundreds of scarlet, refined snakes wanted to bite Yongwu to death. Yongwu seemed to only have the power to defend. He really didn't have the power to fight back. He was beaten back by these attacks. Suddenly, the celestial armor on Yongwu's body suddenly burst open. His body staggered and fell to the ground. "Little brother Wu," Wan Lanxin shouted anxiously. She couldn't wait to run up and save Yongwu. "Don't you dare hurt my man." Nan Runin lost control and wanted to rush up to save Yongwu. Li Dazue also wanted to rush up. He couldn't just watch Yongwu die in front of him. "All of you go back." The Rose of Death suddenly opened her mouth and snorted coldly. At the same time, an extremely terrifying, oppressive feeling immediately swept through the surroundings. It suppressed the restless people, making it impossible for them to rush up to the challenge stage. Yongwu is finished. Everyone had this thought at the same time. "Haha, go to hell." Wei Qian laughed wildly. He held the scarlet flame sword and stabbed straight at Yongwu's heart. At this moment, he seemed to have seen Yongwu dying under his sword. At this critical moment, Yongwu suddenly opened his eyes and glared at Wei Qian like a sharp blade. Wei Qian had a bad premonition in his heart. Not good. He wanted to withdraw his sword without thinking. Unfortunately, it was too late. Yongwu suddenly burst up from the ground. His palms were like whirling waves, fiercely imprinting on Wei Qian's chest. Bang! The general armor in front of Wei Qian's chest was instantly smashed into pieces. Two palm prints directly penetrated his chest. His body was like a kite with a broken string. He flew more than 10 feet away before heavily crashing to the ground. Poof! Wei Qian's sternum was completely shattered. His internal organs exploded. Blood spurted out like a fountain. His body twitched nonstop. In a few blinks of an eye, he died. Even until his death, he didn't understand how Yongwu was fine. He was clearly poisoned and his armor was broken. He should have lost his ability to fight and be at his mercy. Naturally, he didn't know about Yongwu's abnormal constitution. Not only could he heal himself, but he was also immune to poison. He was definitely an immortal. Everything Yongwu did just now, except for the moment when he was affected by the poisonous powder, was just an act. Jiang Gongfan, who wanted to finish Yongwu off, immediately stopped when he saw Yongwu become energetic again. He cursed in his heart. "Oh my God, this kid is actually fine. And he's so fierce. I can't beat him at all." Yongwu turned around and looked at Jiang Gongfan. He smiled faintly and said, "Did you feel good slashing me just now?" Jiang Gongfan's body trembled. He opened his mouth and said, "I didn't." Before he could finish, Yongwu had already swept in front of him like a ghost. He fiercely punched his lower abdomen. Bang! Jiang Gongfan was sent flying like a dead dog. He couldn't resist at all. "I'll pay you back for that slash, just now." Yongwu didn't kill Jiang Gongfan. He only wanted to teach him a lesson. Otherwise, this punch would have killed him directly. Everything happened too suddenly. No one thought that Yongwu was just pretending. He took care of two people in one go. They instantly felt that they were too naive in front of Yongwu. One used poison, and the other faked his death. Who is more despicable? Someone asked doubtfully. Nothing is too deceitful in war. Yongwu really understands the essence of the battlefield. Amazing, amazing. Someone else replied on the spot. That's right. Not only is Commander Yang's battle prowess powerful, even his mind is so wise. It's really admirable. I thought Yongwu was poisoned by the poisonous powder. How do you avoid it? I really don't understand. Now, only Xueji, Violent Dragon, and Duguang Fo are left. Can they join forces to take down Yongwu? Chapter 167. Yongwu fought 1 against 8, and had unknowingly taken care of 5 people. Regardless of whether Yongwu could win this battle or not, he had already received the unanimous approval of the Death Legion. With this kind of strength, this kind of mind, he was worthy of everyone's respect. Nan Runin led her people to shout even more enthusiastically. She only had Yongwu in her eyes and could not tolerate any other man. "Yongwu, you really are the man I like. You're so manly." Nan Runin shouted crazily. The surrounding people who heard this couldn't help but smile, and their admiration for Yang Wu rose to a whole new level. Only Wan Lanxin and Little Man felt very uncomfortable. Their skin was not as thick as Nan Runin's, and they couldn't shout as loudly as her. I want to become stronger. How can I be weaker than other women? Wan Lanxin thought to herself with incomparable certainty. I said I would protect the young master. I have to work harder. Little Man clenched her fists and reminded herself. On the battlefield, Xueji, Violent Dragon, and Duguang Fo did not retreat. Instead, they formed a triangle with Yang Wu in the middle, preparing for the final battle. All the trash has been cleared. We can finally fight without holding back, Xueji said as she gently flicked the embroidery needle in her hand. Her hands shuttled back and forth as she held 8 embroidery needles between her fingers. The sparkling light flickered and they looked very sharp. Violent Dragon bumped his fists together and said, I'm going to be serious this time. Immediately after, the aura on Violent Dragon's body skyrocketed, and the muscles all over his body continued to swell. In the blink of an eye, he became one size bigger. 2 demonic patterns appeared between his eyebrows, and there seemed to be an earth dragon appearing behind him. Violent Dragon Transformation. This was a secret technique he cultivated. At the same time, he had refined the earth dragon's blood in his body and had already cultivated battle patterns. It could allow his battle strength to reach 200% for a quarter of an hour. This was Violent Dragon's true strength. Amipa. Humans strive for pride, Buddhas strive for incense. I don't want to lose either. Duguang Buddha put his palms together and held the prayer beads in front of his neck in his hand. A dark golden light radiated from his body. The evil Buddhist aura became even more oppressive. Yang Wu stood in the middle of the field, a faint smile on his face as he said, Come at me together, don't waste time. Dragon Turtle Water, suppressing stance. At this moment, he was standing like a pine tree. Water, profound energy was constantly gathering under his feet. 720 acupoints were flickering continuously, and the 12 main meridians and 8 great extraordinary meridians in his body were continuously transferring energy to his dantian, allowing him to maintain his peak condition at all times. Other people would consume a lot of their fighting power in the process of battle. In a group battle, it was easy to be exhausted to death. However, Yang Wu's peach stone dantian had a sea of profound energy. It was several dozen times stronger than others of the same level, perhaps even 100 times. This was an advantage that others could not compare to. Furthermore, he had formed a perfect foundation and could use every strand of energy to its peak. He could also absorb energy from the outside world to replenish himself. All of these were the reasons why he was stronger than others. I admire you a bit, but today you must become a blind man. Xueji revealed a trace of ruthlessness and finally chose to take the initiative to attack for the first time. Phantom Shadow Movement Technique. Xueji's feet moved as if she had turned into a red ghost. A series of afterimages appeared on the stage, making it impossible to tell which one was her real body and which one was an afterimage. This was the movement technique that made Xueji famous. It was rumored that it was an emperor technique, and he had already cultivated it to the large success realm. No one could compare to his speed. At the same time, 8 embroidery needles shot out from different directions. This time, they were not disposable needles, but were bound by threads. 8 thin threads shot out at the same time. Some were straight, some were curved, and some were slanted. The different attacks were very beautiful and extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they were already furiously stabbing towards Yang Wu. These 8 needles contained an incomparably boundless energy. This could be sensed from the flickering, profound energy. So fast, when Yang Wu sensed the 8 needles, they were already in front of him. He cried out in surprise, and the profound armor on his body shone brightly, protecting him tightly. Moreover, the spirit snake sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed at the 8 needles. Yang Wu's attack was fast, but Xueji's attack was even faster. She swung her arms and flicked her 10 fingers. The 8 needles immediately changed directions and did not attack according to their original trajectory. 4 of the needles bound Yang Wu's sword while the other 4 pierced towards Yang Wu's vitals from unexpected directions. Bang bang. After the 4 tiny needles pierced through, they actually caused great damage to Yang Wu's profound armor. They made muffled sounds, and their power was truly terrifying. Fortunately, Yang Wu's defense was strong enough. Otherwise, the 4 needles would have pierced his body. However, this was not the end. The 4 needles were smeared with poison. They could not break through Yang Wu's defense, but the poison could directly invade his profound armor. ZZ. The profound armor was quickly corroded by the poison and was about to invade Yang Wu's body. What? Yang Wu cried out in surprise. He did not expect Xueji's attack to be so overbearing and vicious. It was truly impossible to guard against. Hee. You're the most worthy opponent I have ever faced in a long time. I will let you die a quick death. Xueji let out a feminine voice and laughed. Just when Xueji thought that Yang Wu would be severely injured, Yang Wu pulled the spirit snake sword with all his strength. His body quickly spun in a circle, and the bound spirit snake sword completely entangled the 8 needles. He then squatted down and escaped from the encirclement. His reaction was very fast, which surprised Xueji. However, Xueji continued to flick the thin threads. The 8 needles were about to abandon the spirit snake sword and focus on binding Yang Wu. It's not that easy. Yang Wu finally thought a way to escape. How could he let Xueji have her way? His spirit snake sword kept spinning and cutting, trying to cut the 8 thin threads. However, he found that the sharp spirit snake sword could not cut the 8 thin threads. Needless to say, these 8 thin threads were made of extraordinary materials. They were at least comparable to high-grade soldiers. Kill. Violent Dragon seized the opportunity to attack Yang Wu. Violent Dragon Fist. Violent Dragon attacked with all his strength after being strengthened by his strength. He directly struck out a 20-meter-long earth dragon that charged at Yang Wu. The terrifying force swept up the sand and stones on the ground, and waves of air surged. Duguang Buddha also attacked. He poured power into the Buddha beads in his hands and then threw them out. The Buddha beads formed a ring and quickly grew in size. A halo condensed from dark golden Xian Qi enveloped Yang Wu. Demonic Buddha Prison. The power of these 2 top-notch General Realm experts attacking at the same time was quite terrifying. Not many people below the King Realm could block it. When the surrounding people saw such a stunning attack, they all cried out in surprise. Only now did they realize that the exchange of blows between true experts was actually so brilliant and varied. They were even more aware of how huge the gap was between them and themselves. Only this kind of power is worthy of me being serious. Yang Wu's fighting spirit was high. He threw the spirit snake sword in Xueji's direction. Others might not be able to distinguish Xueji's constantly changing movements, but it was not a problem for Yang Wu. His eyesight was much sharper than clairvoyance. He found the location of her real body with a glance. The spirit snake sword turned into a long rainbow and stabbed forward. Xueji was so frightened that she immediately gave up on attacking Yang Wu and quickly moved away. The long sword slashed out of the challenge stage. The people in that direction did not have time to react. Just as they were about to be stabbed by the sword, the cold-faced adjutant snorted and flicked his finger. A force came out later and struck the spirit snake sword to the ground. The people in that direction had narrowly escaped death. They all wiped off their cold sweat and retreated quite a distance, afraid that it would happen again. After Yang Wu interrupted Xueji's attack, he could divert his attention to deal with Violent Dragon and Duguang Fo. Dragon Turtle Sea-Turning Technique. Yang Wu did not hold back his secret technique. He directly waved his arm. One of his hands clenched into a fist, while the other hand turned into a palm. The shadow of a turtle appeared behind him. Torrential waves surged, and the dragon turtle directly churned. In an instant, an extremely terrifying force exploded around Yang Wu. He threw a punch at the earth dragon and a palm at the Buddhist prayer beads. Boom! Boom! The forces intertwined and exploded, wreaking havoc on the challenge stage. causing cracks to appear. Countless sand and stones flew in all directions, forcing the surrounding people to retreat. Some of them could not retreat in time and were hit in the face by the sand and stones, causing them to scream in pain. These forces are too powerful. Are they trying to defy the heavens? This is the combat strength of a top General Realm expert. The gap is really big. I also want to become a General Realm expert one day. The power that Yang Wu burst out just now seems to be even more terrifying. What realm is he in? All the forces dissipated. Violent Dragon vomited blood and was sent flying. He, who was famous for his fist strength, was defeated. In addition, Du Guangfo's Buddhist prayer beads were only sent flying. They did not shatter, but the Buddhist light was no longer there. However, Du Guangfo had already appeared in front of Yang Wu. He opened his mouth and spat out an unexpected sound wave attack. Roar. Lion's roar of Buddhism. Only then did Yang Wu realize that among the 8 deputy commanders, Du Guangfo was the most scheming. His combat strength was also not inferior to violent dragons. He was a terrifying enemy. Yang Wu's ears were hurt by the lion's roar at close range, causing his movements to become sluggish for a moment. Du Guangfo took the opportunity to rush over like a lion pouncing on a rabbit. His palms landed hard on Yang Wu's body. Bang! Yang Wu did not put up any defense at all. He was sent flying by Du Guangfo. Not only that, but Xue Ji also launched another attack. 8 needles were shot at Yang Wu's body at the same time. All these changes were very sudden. The expressions of those who cared about Yang Wu changed in an instant. "Brother Wu, wake up!" Wan Lanxin shouted nervously. "Young master, you must be okay. Young master, you can do it." Little man also shouted. "Yang Wu, hang in there. Don't die. I haven't given birth to your children yet." Nan Runin shouted again. Chapter 168. Was it over? That was the thought that flashed through everyone's mind. Yang Wu was still not so heaven-defying that he could fight 8 people without being defeated. However, this did not stop them from respecting Yang Wu. Unfortunately, Yang Wu was probably not going to survive. Du Guang Buddha's palms were extremely powerful. Coupled with Xue Ji's last 8 needles, each of them could kill a person. Even an immortal would not be able to save him. Yang Wu's body was sliding. His chest was in pain, and it was this pain that made his mind extremely clear. His mind flashed back to the time when he was first sent to the prison and was abused by those prison slaves. At that time, he was also beaten in such a way that he felt unbearable pain, and he felt powerless to resist. He had never been a person who was willing to admit defeat. He had risen to power in the prison, and he had taken care of all those who had hurt him. Now, he had the combat power that he did not have before. It was just a momentary mistake, so how could he be defeated just like that? The Tao flower in his divine court pulsed, as if there was a power condensing. This was his powerful mental strength. He could sense that the 8 needles were infinitely close to his vital points. 1 needle was going to stab the back of his head, 1 needle was going to stab his heart, and 1 needle was going to stab his throat. The 8 needles were aimed at 8 vital points, and they were all fatal. "Get out of my way!" Yang Wu shouted angrily with his eyes closed. He had lost his balance and could not change direction. It was even more impossible for him to fight back or block. However, he had boundless fighting spirit. With the Tao flower of the divine court and enough mental strength, he could change everything. His voice seemed to be full of magic, and his spiritual power rushed out of the divine court in a mighty manner. It directly hit the 8 needles and made them stop. It was as if they had received his order to make them scram. "Impossible!" Xue Ji screamed involuntarily. He knew how to control the embroidery needles like the back of his hand. He could control them at will, but this time, the embroidery needles actually lost control and stopped. It was as if there was a wall in front of the embroidery needles, blocking them all and causing them to completely stop. He couldn't figure out what power Yang Wu had that could block his embroidery needle. He felt that all of this was too unreal. Although the embroidery needle fell, it did not mean that Yang Wu's crisis had been resolved. Du Guangfo was not a person who would underestimate his enemy. He rushed over and wanted to give Yang Wu a fatal blow. How could Yang Wu be careless again? The moment his body touched the ground, he slapped his palms against the ground and bounced up with the force of the recoil. Without any pause, he collided with Du Guang Fo again. I'll let you have a taste of my full strength. Yang Wu was completely enraged. He had just suffered a loss, so he wanted to get back at him double. Whirling wave palm, Yang Wu formed a seal with his palms and slapped out. The power in his dantian surged out. The 12 major meridians, 8 major extraordinary meridians, and 720 acupoints all throbbed. He gathered 100% of his battle strength and sent a wave of power toward Du Guang Fo like a flood. Du Guang Fo's expression changed drastically. He could not dodge, so he continued to attack with his palms. At the same time, 4 layers of solid, dark gold mystic armor appeared on his body. He used all his strength to fight against Yang Wu. Boom! A wave of domineering power collided. Yang Wu's perfect whirling force broke Du Guang Fo's palm and even destroyed his mystic armor. Du Guang Fo was sent flying dozens of feet away and fell out of the challenge stage. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This was Yang Wu using 100% of his battle prowess. Previously, he had only used 80% of his battle prowess. After sending Du Guang Fo flying, Yang Wu turned around and rushed toward Xue Ji, who was attacking again. A man learning how to play with needles like a woman. You might as well be a woman. Yang Wu shouted as he used Wind God's legs to dodge and move forward at full speed. Not only did he make Xue Ji's embroidery needles lose their target, he also quickly approached Xue Ji. If possible, I'm willing to be a woman in my next life. Xue Ji replied with a sickly expression. Then his hands kept crisscrossing and the 8 threads kept converging, forming a net in front of him, making it difficult for Yang Wu to get close. Break for me. Yang Wu used the crudest way to break the move. He used his strongest power and his majestic Xianqi to crush Xue Ji. Xue Ji could not dodge the Xianqi. He could only brace himself to meet it head-on. He was beaten back by Yang Wu, and his needles and threads were all messed up. The place where he was standing had sunk in. There were bloodstains on the corner of his mouth. He could not hold on for much longer. Yang Wu increased his strength and broke through all of Xue Ji's defenses in one fell swoop. His body shot into the air, and at the same time, he threw a punch at Xue Ji. This time, Xue Ji rolled to the ground in a sorry state. It was difficult for him to attack again. When Yang Wu was about to give chase again, Xue Ji suddenly said, "Stop." Yang Wu did not stop. He threw a few more punches, causing Xue Ji's Xian armor to completely shatter. If it were not for the armor on his body, Xue Ji would have been a dead man. In front of absolute strength, none of them were a match for Yang Wu. Yang Wu's combat strength could be said to have reached the peak of the general realm. Only the geniuses of the general realm, or even the super geniuses, could compete with him. Puffed. Xue Ji finally could not take it anymore. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. His beautiful clothes were tattered and his hair was messy. At this moment, Yang Wu stopped attacking. He looked at Xue Ji and announced, "You've lost." Xue Ji propped himself up and looked at Yang Wu with a smile. "Aha, I won't lose. The only one who will lose will be you." Suddenly, his Adam's apple bobbed and a needle shot out from his mouth. No one expected Xue Ji to have an embroidery needle in his mouth. It came too suddenly. Even a king realm cultivator would find it difficult to dodge at such a close distance. Yang Wu's body could not react in time, but his mind could. He shouted again, "Scram!" His voice was like a clap of thunder. It contained a dense demonic power, causing the embroidery needle to fall to the ground. "You? How did you do it?" Xue Ji screamed with an ashen face. This was his most well-hidden attack, but it had been destroyed right in front of him. This was a huge blow to him. Yang Wu didn't answer his question. Instead, he bent down and picked up the embroidery needle. Then he walked over to Xue Ji and said, "What other tricks do you have? Just use them." I. Xue Ji was so nervous that he could not speak. This was because the needle in Yang Wu's hand was slowly stabbing toward his eyes. "Don't!" Xue Ji cried out. "I saw that you liked to play with needles. I thought you weren't afraid of needles." Yang Wu did not actually blind Xue Ji's eyes. Instead, he stopped in front of his face and said with a strong expression. Shueji broke out in a cold sweat. He did not know how to answer Yang Wu's question. He liked to play with needles, and he liked to blind others, but that did not mean he liked to be blinded by needles. You lost. After Yang Wu emphasized it again, the needle in his hand still pierced into the wound. My eyes are blind. My eyes are blind. Shueji made a sound like a pig being slaughtered. He covered his eyes and screamed. Idiot, I only stabbed your thigh. Remember, don't play with needles in front of me in the future. Yang Bai rolled his eyes at Shueji. If he wanted to blind Shueji's eyes, he could have done it the first time. Stabbing Shueji later was just to teach Shueji a lesson. Yang Wu stood up and looked around the challenge stage. He looked at the opponents that were lying on the ground, and a proud expression appeared on his face. Then, he looked at the Rose of Death who was sitting outside the challenge stage and said, Captain, does what you said before still count? The Rose of Death stood up. Her beautiful eyes were filled with ripples as she replied, It does. From today onwards, you are the vice captain of the Death Legion. At this moment, the surrounding soldiers of the Death Legion all knelt down on one knee and shouted, Greetings, Vice Captain Yang Wu. Their voices were loud and clear. There wasn't the slightest bit of exaggeration. It was worship and respect that came from the bottom of their hearts. Young Master is really amazing. The little man's eyes were filled with deep infatuation as she praised in amazement. Wan Lanxin beside her was sobbing. Wan Lanxin was very clear about how painful it was for Yang Wu to be demoted from a noble viscount to a slave. However, not only did he not sink into depression, he even rose up from the adversity. In just a few short months, he became the vice captain of the Death Legion. This was something worthy of celebration and respect. She was happy and moved for Yang Wu in her heart. He could finally hold his head high. Vice Captain Yang Wu, you're so handsome. Nan Runan led her support team and shouted crazily. She couldn't wait to rush over to Yang Wu. She wanted to fiercely hug him in her arms and then proudly announce to everyone that this was the man she fancied. Fortunately, she wasn't crazy to this point. Otherwise, Yang Wu would have to flee. Brother Yang Wu is really good. Even if you can't participate in the battle for the position of young marshal, you're still a great man. Yin Mingzheng felt sorry for Yang Wu in his heart. Indeed, with Yang Wu's fighting strength, it would be easy for him to win the position of Major General. The position of young marshal was not impossible. Unfortunately, Yang Wu's opportunity had been deprived by the higher-ups. Yin Mingzheng was crying out for injustice for Yang Wu, but his low status was of no help at all. At this moment, Yang Wu's heart was also filled with joy. He had worked so hard for so long, waiting for such an opportunity. He wanted to rise in the army and return to King City in the strongest position in the future to take back everything that their Yang family had lost. This is just the beginning. Father, Mother, wait for Wu. Wu will be able to go back to see you soon. Yang Wu clenched his fists and murmured in his heart. However, before Yang Wu had time to be happy, a voice poured cold water on him. Who allowed Yang Wu to be the vice captain? This general doesn't agree. Chapter 169. Those who dared to call themselves general in the military camp were only those who were deputy generals and above. Lieutenant General Chao Jianda had appeared at some point. He was one of the 8 major lieutenant generals and one of the 9 major generals in the military. His words had absolute power, and no one dared to go against him. Why aren't you kneeling down and saluting General Chao? The deputy general beside Chao Jianda shouted at the people around him. Greetings, General Chao. Scattered people knelt down and saluted. These people belonged to the other military camps, but none of the Death Legion's people knelt down. Their faces were full of disdain, and they even turned their faces away and pretended not to see anything. The deputy general was extremely annoyed. Are you rebelling? Hurry up and kneel down. The Death Legion's people were still indifferent. Who were they? They were the Death Legion's people. They were basically sent here to be the vanguard because they committed serious crimes. After they entered the Death Legion, they never thought of leaving this place alive. Why would they be afraid of offending people? They were already treated differently from the other military camps, so why would they care about the military's rules? They would rather kneel to their own regiment's commander deputy commander, or even commander than to salute anyone outside their regiment. These were the soldiers of the Death Legion. The deputy general was really angry. Just as he was about to speak again, the Rose of Death glared at him. He instantly felt a formless killing intent entangling him, causing him to shrink back and not dare to utter another word. This is the Death Legion. I have a final say. Yang Wu is the deputy commander. The Rose of Death looked directly at Chao Jianda with a domineering gaze. In the entire military camp, there was no one else other than the Rose of Death who would respond so domineeringly to a lieutenant general. Chao Jianda showed a trace of dissatisfaction. Rose of Death, don't forget that you're also a member of the military. You must absolutely obey orders. Lieutenant General Chao, you still can't order me around. The Rose of Death responded faintly. She paused for a moment before continuing. Unless you can ask the Grand General for orders. In the entire military camp, the Rose of Death would only listen to the highest marshal. She could ignore everyone else. This was the Death Legion's principle all along. However, the marshal usually had a laissez-faire attitude towards the Death Legion. As long as they were killing enemies for the army, they could do whatever they wanted. Chao Jianda's face turned even uglier. He pointed at Yang Wu and said, "This kid offended a noble. If you know what's good for you, let him go with me. You can't protect him, and you'll get yourself into trouble." No matter who he offended, the fact that he wasn't directly executed proves that he didn't deserve to die. He has already atoned for his crimes with his own abilities. Don't tell me that you still want to erase these merits and forcibly convict him of a crime. If that's the case, what's the point of having our Death Legion? You might as well kill us all. The Rose of Death's reaction was extremely intense. She walked towards Chao Jianda step by step and released her aura, making it difficult for the people around her to breathe. You've broken through to the advanced Earth-Sea realm. Chao Jianda couldn't help but cry out when he sensed the Rose of Death's aura. The Earth-Sea realm was commonly known as the King Realm. From the Dantian to the Earth-Sea, one could truly become a fish leaping over the Dragon Gate and becoming a person above all others. I've only broken through a few days ago. Would Lieutenant General Chao like to experience it? The Rose of Death replied indifferently. This woman was truly too domineering. She even dared to directly challenge a lieutenant general. It was also because of this that the Death Legion didn't dare to disobey her in the slightest. Seeing her protect Yang Wu so much, they felt that it wasn't a loss to follow such a commander. In the past, Yang Wu had a lot of resentment towards the Rose of Death. He felt that she was a woman who bit the hand that fed her. But now, he felt that she was much cuter. He muttered in his heart, "I originally wanted to be stronger than you one day and teach you a lesson. But now that I think about it, I'll spare you this time. If you dare to bully me again, I'll definitely smack your butt in the future." If others knew what Yang Wu was thinking, they would probably faint from fright. He even dared to touch the butt of this queen who didn't even place a lieutenant general in his eyes. He was simply tired of living. Good, very good. I'll report this matter to the general. Yang Wu definitely won't become the vice commander of the Death Legion. Chao Jinan naturally didn't dare to challenge the Rose of Death unless he was tired of living. When the Rose of Death was in the intermediate realm, she dared to exchange blows with the general. Now that she had broken through to the advanced realm, her combat strength wasn't much inferior to the general's. Why would he ask for a snub? This was a woman who was known as the Second Death War King. With her talent, she might even have a chance to surpass the original Death War King. If that was the case, the situation in Great Xia would be affected. Chao Jianda couldn't argue with the Rose of Death. He could only turn around and leave with his men. However, Yang Wu still didn't understand what was going on. He asked, "That whatever general, do we have a grudge?" Originally, Yang Wu was a good youth who respected the old and loved the young. However, since the other party didn't respect him, he didn't need to respect them either. That was why he asked such a rude question. "How dare you address General Chao like that?" The deputy general beside Chao Jianda reprimanded him once again. "He wants to take away my position as vice commander and even wants to kill me. What else do I not dare to do?" Yang Wu replied indifferently. "You're rebelling. The deputy general wanted to shout again, but Chao Jianda gestured to stop him. Then Chao Jianda said to Yang Wu, "There's no deep hatred. It's just that you injure my son." After speaking, Chao Jianda turned around and left with his men. Everything was on the table. He, a dignified lieutenant general, was going against Yang Wu to avenge his son. Who would dare to say anything when he was clearly using his position to avenge a private grudge? This was the terrifying part of power. There's no justice in this world. I beat up the young, and now the old comes. Looks like I have to work harder. One day I'll beat you up too, Yang Wu said fearlessly. Many of the Death Legion members couldn't help but secretly give Yang Wu a thumbs up. The Rose of Death had enough strength to not be afraid of Chao Jianda, but Yang Wu probably didn't have such strength yet. Yet, he still dared to clamor. He was truly a role model for their generation. Who knew that Yang Wu's heart wasn't calm at all? He defended a noble and was sent to the border as a prison slave. Now that he'd just made some progress, he was being bullied by a dignified lieutenant general. This really made things difficult for him. He had nowhere to vent his anger. He wasn't willing to let his fate be manipulated by these people like this. I'm still too weak. I want to become stronger. Yang Wu was incomparably eager to improve. If he could become a king, he'd have the confidence to clamor with the Rose of Death. Then, what was there for him to be afraid of? Chao Jianda, who hadn't gone far, clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles made cracking sounds. Dense, killing intent permeated the air, and the people around him all shivered. No one dared to make the slightest sound. This brat must be killed. Chao Jianda added Yang Wu to his kill list and shouted, "Disperse. Remember, in the future, Yang Wu's orders are equivalent to this commander's orders." The Rose of Death announced again. "Yes, leader." Everyone replied in unison, and then dispersed one after another. Soon, only Yang Wu and those who cared about him were left on the challenge stage. Wan Lanxin, Little Man, and Nan Runin all wanted to go up and talk to Yang Wu. Who knew that the Rose of Death would say to Yang Wu, "Follow me." Then, she dashed over and lifted Yang Wu up. Then, she flew away from the scene with him in front of everyone. When the cold-faced adjutant saw this scene, an extremely complicated expression surfaced in his cold eyes. This wasn't the first time Yang Wu was carried away by the Rose of Death. This feeling of flying no longer made him afraid. Instead, it made him even more excited and yearned for it. He thought to himself, "Once I reach the Earth-Sea realm and become a ruler, I can condense profound wings and fly in the air. This is the symbol of a true expert." Soon, the Rose of Death brought Yang Wu to a solitary peak. This solitary peak occupied an area and was quite a distance away from the other peaks. It didn't have lush trees, and only a small amount of weeds stubbornly grew. It appeared so bleak and lonely. From here, one could overlook everything in the Death Legion and also see the entrance to the battlefield. It was the best place to stand guard. The Rose of Death put Yang Wu down with her back facing him. She gazed at the battlefield passage and didn't speak for a long time. Yang Wu also didn't speak. He felt the gusts of wind on the mountain peak and looked at the surrounding scenery. The unhappiness in his heart seemed to quickly disappear. After an unknown amount of time, the Rose of Death finally spoke. "You shouldn't have said those words. We've already shed all pretense of cordiality. Why should I be polite with him?" Yang Wu asked in return. "You have to learn to be patient and challenge him when you have enough strength. Otherwise, you'll die even faster," the Rose of Death said indifferently. "Perhaps you're right, but he's about to chop my neck with a blade, and I'm not allowed to curse back. Even if I die, I won't be happy." Yang Wu smiled wryly and then asked in return, "Then why are you protecting me? Although you're powerful, it's not worth offending a lieutenant general for me." The Rose of Death didn't answer because she didn't know how to. Indeed, everything she was doing to Yang Wu was extremely abnormal. This wasn't her style at all. Even if Yang Wu had saved her before, it wasn't enough for her to treat him like this. Yang Wu looked at the Rose of Death's slender and plump back. His courage suddenly rose, and he directly hugged her slender waist in his arms. With a gentle voice, he said, "You like me, right?" If someone saw this scene, they would think that Yang Wu was crazy. This was an act of seeking death. The rose of death was a poisonous rose with thorns. Whoever touched it would die. There were many precedents in the military. In the end, Yang Wu suffered tragedy. Chapter 170. At the peak of the lone mountain, the wind whistled and the chill was desolate. A lone man and a lone woman hugged each other, adding a beautiful scenery to the lone mountain. Unfortunately, in the next moment, the youth was ruthlessly thrown over her shoulder and smashed into a mountain rock. A blood-curdling scream pierced through the sky, startling the birds in the sky and causing them to speed up. Soon, they disappeared without a trace. The Rose of Death. She didn't have such a title for no reason. Since the day she joined the Death Legion, she had killed countless people. Whoever touched her would die. At that time, she hadn't covered her face and revealed her stunning face. It was a fatal temptation to any man. One after another, thirsty men wanted to take her for themselves. These men either killed each other or were killed by her. Her origin was quite mysterious. When she first came to the Death Legion, she was only in the realm of a senior warrior. However, with the brand of death that she comprehended from the battle skill tablet, she was able to make rapid breakthroughs all the way. Soon, she was promoted from small soldier to a centurion, a chilly arch, and even a commander. She was unstoppable all the way. No one could stop her. When she was fancied by one of the deputy generals, she was only at the peak of the general realm. That deputy general was at the initial stage of the Earthsea realm and was a genuine king. That deputy general forcefully took her. He felt that the Rose of Death wouldn't be able to escape from his grasp. In the end, the deputy general was castrated and killed by the Rose of Death. This matter alarmed the entire army, and even the general knew of her existence. In order to punish the Rose of Death, he directly sent her to the barbarian encampment to kill barbarians. At that time, the general promised that if she could come back alive and kill 100 barbarian generals and 400 barbarian soldiers, he would make up for her mistake and promote her to the commander of the Death Legion. In the end, the Rose of Death completed this mission after half a year and returned. At that time, she had become a genuine king. Her path of death had been initially condensed, and the Rose of Death's name spread throughout the army. The general immediately fulfilled his promise and handed the Death Legion to her. 5 years had passed since that day. Ever since she became the leader of the Death Legion, she no longer showed her true face. At the same time, no one dared to find trouble with her. She didn't expect that after 5 years, there would be a brat who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He hugged her waist from behind and said such shameless words. At that moment, her heart was beating extremely fast, and her face was burning hot. She was completely at a loss, and her delicate body was in a state of limp. If that brat hadn't climbed up the pole and licked her earlobe, she wouldn't have done such an extreme thing. Yang Wu was smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. He was dizzy, and his body felt as if it had fallen apart. Even after fighting for so long, he hadn't been injured as badly as this. After all, it was a high-level Earth-Sea Realm king. Even if it was just a light blow, it was enough to make him suffer. Fortunately, the Rose of Death didn't do anything to him. Instead, she revealed a conflicted expression and appeared to be at a loss. In the end, she muttered, "Who told you to be so impudent?" Then, she mysteriously took out a healing pill and stuffed it into Yang Wu's mouth without any explanation. Yang Wu, this reckless guy, even licked her finger. She was so scared that she quickly shrank back as if she had been electrocuted. The Rose of Death made a pose to hit Yang Wu, but Yang Wu wailed, "If you have the heart, then beat me to death. In any case, you've wanted to kill me for a long time. Isn't it just because I saw your body once? I did it to save you. It wasn't intentional. You still dare to say that?" The Rose of Death trembled in anger. Yang Wu wasn't afraid of being scalded. He continued, "I'm just speaking the truth. In any case, I fell in love with you from the first time I saw you. Even if you threw me to the barbarians and I was almost killed by them, I didn't blame you. I know you're angry. Now that you've vented your anger, can't we have a good talk? If you really don't love me, then just tell me clearly. If you still can't vent your anger, then just kill me and end it all. In any case, other people are eyeing my head. I'll die either way, so I might as well die in your hands. That way, I won't feel wronged even if I become a ghost. Yang Wu said these words without blushing or skipping a beat. In any case, he had already thrown caution to the wind. If he couldn't make the Rose of Death fall in love with him, then he would die in the military camp. It was easy for a lieutenant general to deal with a mere junior general like him. Although he had a little intention of using the Rose of Death, he had indeed seen her soul-stirring beauty. No man could stop himself from liking her, and he was no exception. It wasn't that the Rose of Death hadn't heard of those sweet words of courtship, but when Yang Wu said it so confidently, her heart was in a mess. She didn't know how to respond. Her emotions were very complicated. There was love, anxiety, and confusion. She wasn't sure how she felt about him. Scoundrel! The Rose of Death lightly stomped her foot and cursed before flying away. Yang Wu hurriedly called out, "Rose, I love you." His voice wasn't soft. It scared the Rose of Death so much that her body continuously swayed and she almost fell from the sky. The Rose of Death disappeared. Yang Wu's face was overflowing with a smile as he muttered to himself, "That girl's heart is moved. It seems that my handsome man trick is already half successful. As long as I work harder, I can definitely get her." After pausing for a moment, he sighed, "My life is bitter. In order to protect myself, I'm even about to sell my own body. If that slug finds out, I don't know if she'll cry." Yang Wu's mind thought of the little slug who always wore her hair in pigtails and loved to cry. His heart was immediately filled with boundless fighting spirit. He still had an unfulfilled 3-year promise with her. He still hadn't fulfilled it. So how could he die here? Yang Wu operated the exalted 9 profound arts, quickly recovering the injuries on his body. Soon, he struggled to sit cross-legged. He patted his forehead and said, "I forgot to discuss the matter of the pill with that girl. Forget it. I'll discuss it with her next time." Yang Wu's recovery speed became faster and faster. After circulating 2 to 3 cycles, the effects of the pill hadn't completely dispersed yet, but the pain on his body had completely disappeared. He stood up and wanted to go down, but when he looked at his surroundings, he was completely dumbfounded. This lonely peak was a cliff. It was very steep and very high. There wasn't any place to rest his feet. How was he going to go down from here? "Rose, oh Captain, quickly come back and save me." Yang Wu loudly shouted in the direction that the Rose of Death had just left. Little He, oh immortal emperor, quickly come and save me." Unfortunately, no one paid attention to him, even if he shouted himself hoarse. Helpless, Yang Wu could only think of a way to save himself. In any case, he was also a martial artist in the general realm. Could it be that he couldn't climb down from here? Yang Wu walked to the edge of the lonely peak and looked down. The 300-meter-tall mountain was incomparably vertical. If he fell down, he would probably be smashed to pieces. At this moment, a cold wind blew by. A few pieces of gravel brushed past his feet and directly fell down. He seemed to see himself falling down like this. He couldn't help but gulp and say, "Heavens, why do I feel like I'm a bit afraid of heights?" If anyone else heard this, they would definitely spit at him and drown him. The expert who had just defeated the 8 vice commanders and hugged the Rose of Death's little man's waist still said such cowardly words. He was definitely lying again. Yang Wu wasn't lying. In such a high place, he, a martial artist in the general realm who couldn't fly, did indeed have a reason to be afraid. In the end, Yang Wu still had to carefully climb down from here. He used the crudest and most direct method. He punched out grooves on a mountain wall again and again, then slowly climbed down from here. Every time he climbed, he was so scared that he would miss a step and fall down. His appearance was really funny. After Yang Wu landed, he wiped his sweat and muttered, "Fortunately, no one saw. Otherwise, I would have lost all my face." As soon as he finished speaking, he seemed to have sensed something. He raised his head and saw a shadow high in the sky. Who else could it be but the Rose of Death? Yang Wu wanted nothing more than to dig a hole and crawl into it. He covered his face and ran back to the core, crying out like a wronged little wife. "I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to live anymore." In midair, the Rose of Death, flashing her profound wings, let out a melodious laugh. Hee hee. When the wind blew, the veil lifted, revealing half of her gorgeous face, causing the beautiful scenery on the horizon to pale in comparison. Outside the Barbarian Suppression Army's barracks, a group of people slowly approached the barracks. This group of people was very sparse. There were only about 20 people, but each soldier was in high spirits. Riding on their horses, they were all extraordinarily mighty. The valiant general in the lead carried a large flag with the word Fu embroidered on it. This represented that they belonged to Lieutenant General Fu's troops. Indeed, riding on a black red hare in the middle of this group of people was Lieutenant General Fu Rong. Beside him, there was a middle-aged man who could chat and laugh with him. This middle-aged man was dressed plainly and had a thin figure, but he had a charm of returning to one's natural state. Behind them, there was a young man who was half a horse's length behind them. He looked extraordinarily handsome and wore battle armor. He rode on a battle lion with his head held high. If Yang Wu was here, he would have recognized that the middle-aged man was Wang Jiucheng, whom he had saved from the blood pit. As for the young man, he was Li Xing, who had pursued Wan Lanxin. Thank you, Brother Jiucheng, for being willing to join my Barbarian Suppression Army. You'd be like a tiger that has grown wings. Fu Rong said enthusiastically to Wang Jiucheng. General Fu is too polite. I just want to let my good-for-nothing disciple temper himself and take a walk while he's at it. Wang Jiucheng replied indifferently. Your disciple is a talented person. He will definitely be able to achieve great things in the army. Fu Rong looked back at Li Xing and praised him. Li Xing raised his head and revealed a proud expression. He thought to himself, Wan Lanxin, oh Wan Lanxin, you didn't think that we would meet again one day. I will make you regret it. Chapter 171. Winter was getting thicker and the cold air was coming. The Barbarian Suppression Army had already started to prepare many items to keep out the cold. They gave many soldiers thick clothes and increased the amount of materials they could use to keep warm. Although most of the people in the army cultivated the martial body and could withstand the ordinary cold and heat, if it was winter at the border, the temperature would be incomparably cold. The martial soldiers would not be able to withstand it, and even the warriors would find it difficult to withstand. Without thick clothing and the heat of the bonfire, some of them might even freeze to death. The Death Legion did not have such treatment. Therefore, every winter at least dozens or even hundreds of people would freeze to death. To the people in the other camps, the Death Legion's people deserved to die. However, to the higher-ups, they did not have enough supplies to distribute to them. Because of this, every winter, the Death Legion would have some riots. They would rob the other camps of their heating materials. This was the first thing Yang Wu had to deal with after becoming the vice commander. Yang Wu thought that after becoming the vice commander, he would be able to strut around and have some lackeys following him wherever he went. It would be like when he was a viscount. He could do whatever he wanted. Unfortunately, he was thinking too much. After the cold-faced adjutant told him everything he had to deal with in the Death Legion, he was completely dumbfounded. Food had to be dealt with and required merit points to exchange. Otherwise, everyone would starve to death. Clothes had to be dealt with and merit points could not be exchanged. Otherwise, everyone would freeze to death. Winter was the time when there were the least amount of battles. However, the Death Legion's people had to hand in merit points every month. Otherwise, they would be punished. Similarly, they had to find a way to deal with it. Yang Wu suddenly felt that he had picked up a hot potato. It gave him a headache. His dream of relying on someone else's power was shattered. What awaited him were all kinds of trivial matters. How could he cultivate and become stronger? Adjutant, I don't think these things should be handled by a dignified vice commander like me. Yang Wu protested to the cold-faced adjutant. Hee, these things were done by me in the past. Does that mean that I'm still doing it now? The cold-faced adjutant sneered. Yang Wu was instantly speechless. He didn't think that he could be above the cold-faced adjutant just because he was the deputy commander. As his strength increased, he realized that the cold-faced adjutant was also an unfathomable expert. He was at least a king in the Earthsea realm. Don't bargain. Since you've accepted this position, do it well. I believe you can do it, the cold-faced adjutant said affirmatively and sent Yang Wu out. Yang Wu could only return to his new tent with a pile of recording materials. His new tent was rebuilt by Li Dazue and the others, and the tent cloth was provided by Nan Runin, making it the most luxurious and imposing tent in the Death Legion. When Yang Wu arrived in front of this tent, he felt that it was a little unreal. Originally, he had wanted to reject Nan Runin's kind intentions, but thinking about how he was a dignified vice commander, it wasn't a big deal for him to not have a decent place to stay, so he half-heartedly let her go. In front of the tent stood two subordinates. They were the guards that Huang Mogai and Huang Minjing had selected for him. "Greetings, Vice Commander." When the two guards saw Yang Wu, they respectfully saluted and greeted him. Yang Wu waved his hand and went straight into the tent. When he went in, he found a stout figure pouncing on him. Fortunately, he dodged quickly, otherwise he would have been hugged tightly by this stout person. Who else could this person be but Nan Runin? Nan Runin was tall and strong. Ordinary men couldn't compare with her, but in fact, her face was quite pleasing to the eye. Her facial features were very regular. Although her figure was stout, the whole body was very well proportioned. In particular, her breasts were big enough, and her buttocks were even better. For a country bumpkin, this was good material for giving birth to children. However, Yang Wu's aesthetic was not that of country people. He was born in a noble family, and his vision was not ordinary. Nan Runin could not enter his eyes at all, but it was possible for them to be friends. "Can you let me hug you?" Nan Runin said with a sad face, like a wronged little wife. Only Yang Wu could see such an attitude. Other people, even her father, might not have seen it. Yang Wu said, "Vice Commander Nan, it's not good for men and women to be so close." "What's wrong with it? I want to be your woman. Isn't it normal for a wife to hug her husband?" Nan Runin responded. Yang Wu said sternly, "Vice Commander Nan, don't be so stubborn. I'm younger than you, and for the time being, I'm not in the mood for love. Moreover, a real man should make contributions on the battlefield and die in battle. So I advise you to stop thinking about me. We can actually be friends, can't we?" It was not the first time Yang Wu had said this to Nan Runin. He had already emphasized to Nan Runin that he was not interested in her. It was so obvious, but this woman was stubborn. Sure enough, not only was Nan Runin not discouraged, but she also showed an extremely infatuated expression and said, "Wow, Yang Wu, you're so ambitious. You're a real man. I like you very much." Yang Wu looked defeated. He put the information in his hand on the table and sat weakly in the chair. "You can go. I still have a lot of military affairs to deal with. I don't have time to pay attention to you. So many military affairs. Can you deal with them alone?" Nan Runin asked. "I have to deal with them even if I can't. A wise man works with his mind. A fool works with his strength. You can call a few strategists to deal with these matters for you. A wise man works with his mind. A fool works with his strength." Yang Wu chewed on these words and instantly bounced up from the chair. He smiled happily and said, "Thank you, Runin. You're right. I should ask my strategist to deal with these matters for me. There's no need to do it myself." As soon as he said this, Nan Runin showed a drunken look and directly collapsed on the ground. She held her face with both hands and murmured, "Oh, he just praised me. I'm so happy." Seeing her like this, Yang Wu really could not continue to communicate with her. He hurriedly walked out of the tent. He had to find someone to deal with these matters for him. After Yang Wu went outside, he sent people to inform the various deputy commanders to come for a meeting. Not long after, the 9 deputy commanders all arrived. No one dared to be absent. The 9 deputy commanders were Shueji, Violent Dragon, Duguang Fo, Li Zhe, Xiet Dongyue, Jianggung Fan, Zhou Yong, Wei Xuan, and the newly promoted Deng Xuanmao. Most of the deputy commanders who had fought with Yang Wu were still injured. Du Guangfo's injuries were the most serious. He had taken a powerful blow from Yang Wu, and both his arms were almost broken. He was lucky to not die. As for Xiet Dongyue and Wei Zhuan, they were mainly poisoned. With the antidote given by Shueji, they managed to keep their lives. As for Deng Xuanmao, because he followed Yang Wu, he was promoted to deputy commander by Yang Wu. As for the staff monster, he had already been executed and could not return. So, There were currently a total of 9 deputy commanders. Now, I want to announce something. Xueji will be the chief commander. Do any of you have any objections? Yang Wu said to the 9 people present. Among so many people, Xueji and Du Guang Fo were the most scheming. However, Yang Wu believed that Xueji's killing methods were even better than Du Guang Fo's. He believed that no one would dare to oppose him taking the position of Grand Commander. Sure enough, everything was as he had expected. No one objected. Yang Wu did not know that it was not that they did not want to object. It was just that his power was too scary. Will they dare object? All right, since no one has any objections, let's move on to the next matter. The commander appointed me as the vice commander. Although I was against it in my heart, I still decided to take on the responsibility of sharing the commander's responsibilities. So, everyone, please support me in the future. If anyone disagrees, I don't mind sending them to meet Wei Qi. Yang Wu spoke in a cocky and threatening tone. He then said, "Now, I have taken over the position of deputy commander. There are a lot of military matters for me to handle, but I can't do it alone. So, I want to hire a few strategists to share the burden. Who do you think is up to the task?" When everyone heard Yang Wu's words, they all looked at each other. Clearly, no one wanted to take on such a role. Moreover, they were all military generals. If they were asked to do these things, they would not be able to do it. Why aren't you saying anything? Are you waiting for me to interrogate you one by one? Yang Wu frowned. Deng Shuangmao hurriedly said, "Deputy Commander, it's not that we don't want to take on the role. It's just that we can use swords and spears, but we can't do the paperwork." "That's right. No one is good at this. We can't share the burden," Xueji said. "I'm just a rough person. I can't do it." Rampaging Dragon replied straightforwardly. The others all responded at once. They all said that they could not do such a job. Just as Yang Wu was feeling depressed, Zhou Yong said, "Deputy Commander, I know someone who is quite good at writing, but he doesn't have the strength to truss a chicken. He often brags that he was once the county magistrate's strategist. I don't know if it's true." "Oh, the county magistrate's strategist? That's a guy who came up with plans for the county magistrate. He must know how to handle paperwork. Bring him here for me to see," Yang Wu ordered after thinking for a moment. "Yes, Deputy Commander." Zhou Yong left. Not long after, Zhou Yong returned. He brought someone with him. When Yang Wu saw that person, he was instantly disappointed. The other party didn't look like a strategist at all. He was more like a beggar. His hair was messy, his clothes were tattered, and he trembled as he walked. He didn't look respectable at all. "Lu Ji, why aren't you greeting the deputy commander?" Zhou Yong said as he lightly pushed that beggar. The man called Lu Ji didn't have the backbone of a scholar. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed. Cough, cough. Lu Ji greets the deputy commander. Yang Wu was even more disappointed. He waved his hand and said, "Get up." After Lu Ji slowly got up, Yang Wu asked, "I heard that you were once the county magistrate strategist. Do you know how to handle paperwork?" Lu Ji bowed and revealed a trace of elegance. "This little one knows everything from astronomy to geography. There's nothing that this little one doesn't know. Mere paperwork is naturally at my fingertips." "Enough. Do you think you're that old man's Sun Rue? You think you're some big shot just because you boast a few words," Yang Wu said in dissatisfaction. Deputy Commander knows my master?" Lu Ji immediately straightened his back and asked. Chapter 172. In the most gorgeous tent of the Death Legion, a youth and a young man were drinking wine and eating meat together. The youth was wearing battle armor and looked like a young warlord. His outstanding temperament was very intimidating. Anyone would praise him. What a young warlord. As for the other young man, he was extremely sloppy. If he didn't tie up his messy hair, no one would be able to tell that he was only in his early 20s. People would mistake him for an uncle in his 30s. The young warlord was Yang Wu. He was only slowly tasting the wine and didn't eat the meat. The one eating the meat was Lu Ji. He seemed to have been hungry for many days and was wolfing down the food here. His eating manners were very unsightly. Yang Wu waited for Lu Ji to swallow the 10 kilograms of meat bit by bit before saying, "Drink a mouthful to moisten your throat." A scholar who could eat 10 kilograms of meat could be considered to have a good appetite. Lu Ji didn't stand on ceremony. He took the cup and drank it in one gulp. Cough, cough. Lu Ji didn't know if he drank too quickly or if he was sick in the first place, but he kept coughing. Are you unwell? Yang Wu asked Lu Ji. Yang Wu had coughed a few times since he saw Lu Ji, which was why he asked this question. Lu Ji admitted honestly, it's an inherited illness since I was young. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to be some damn advisor. Cough, cough. I see. Yang Wu came to a realization. He then cut to the chase and asked, Are you really Sun Rui's disciple? Lu Ji calmly replied, I'm ashamed to say that I was fortunate enough to listen to a few of my teacher's lessons when I was young. I don't know if he still remembers me, but I've always treated him as my teacher. He was the one who led me onto the path of a scholar. Although I didn't pass the imperial examination, nor did I pass the imperial examination, I'm still the only outstanding scholar in the county. At least I didn't let my teacher down. Yang Wu's expression turned ugly. He knew that Sun Rui was a great strategist, and he really thought that Lu Ji was Sun Rui's disciple. Now it seemed that he had been tricked by Lu Ji. Lu Ji saw that Yang Wu's expression wasn't too good, so he hurriedly coughed twice and changed the topic. I don't know what Vice Commander is looking for me for. Although I don't have the strength to truss up a chicken, I can handle some internal affairs without a problem. After all, I was once a county magistrate. Then how long have you been a county magistrate? How many affairs have you handled? Yang Wu asked. Lu Ji revealed an awkward expression and said, Cough, cough. I was only a county magistrate for half a day. I didn't have time to handle any affairs before the county magistrate arrested me. He was going to send me to prison, but that heartless fellow actually banished me, a county magistrate, to the army. How hateful. Yang Wu wanted to vomit blood. Didn't this fellow just boast that he knew the heavens above and the earth below? He had only been a county magistrate for half a day and still had the face to say such things. Yang Wu suppressed his urge to get angry and asked again, Do you know where your master is now? Lu Ji shook his head lightly and said, My impression of my teacher is still that of when I was 10 years old. Thinking about it, it's been 11 or 12 years since I last saw him. He must have already entered the imperial court and become a state preceptor. Yang Wu slapped his forehead and said gloomily, Your teacher is currently in the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison not too far away. What? My teacher is actually in the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison. Don't tell me he went to become a prison warden? I knew my teacher wasn't an ordinary person. Then can you let me join him? Seeing that I'm his student, he'll definitely take me in. Lu Ji said excitedly. Yang Wu was truly speechless. He said loudly, He's in the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison and has already been there for 10 years. Do you want to join him? No way. So that old fellow boasted so much back then. He's actually a liar. He didn't even let off a 10-year-old child. How hateful. He deserves to be caught. Lu Ji's expression changed so quickly that even Yang Wu was left in the dust. Then tell me, why were you set up by the county magistrate after only being a private advisor for half a day? Ahem, this is not something that can be explained in a few words. I can only blame myself for being too handsome. The concubine of the county magistrate took a fancy to me and dragged me to her room to see if her new clothes were nice. She even wanted to try them on for me. You see, as a man, how could I refuse such a passionate invitation from a woman? So I went in. It was such a simple thing, but when the county magistrate found out about it, that old man almost killed me. I swear, I did not do anything to his concubine. It was his concubine who pulled me and pushed me onto the bed. You know, I am weak and powerless, so I definitely could not resist. Ahem. The more Lu Ji spoke, the more he felt wronged. Tears almost flowed out of his eyes. Without waiting for him to finish, Yang Wu couldn't take it anymore. His stomach churned, and he wanted to vomit. He hurriedly stopped him and said, Stop, stop, I know. It's all because you're handsome that you were almost molested by the concubine. Furthermore, the county magistrate wronged you. That's why you're here, right? Lu Ji repeatedly nodded and said, That's right. No one knows me better than Vice Commander. Okay, I know. You can scram now. Yang Wu couldn't stand Lu Ji's bad habit of bragging and immediately ordered him to leave. He didn't believe that Lu Ji was a good strategist. Don't, Vice Commander. Don't you want a strategist? I don't think I have any problems. Lu Ji anxiously said, I want a strategist, not a braggart. Yang Wu said seriously, Vice Commander, How can you not believe me? Everything I just said is true and not false. If there's even half a lie, then may I be struck by lightning. 5 bolts of lightning. Lu Ji immediately swore seriously. Before he could finish his words, a series of rumbling noises suddenly rang out. There really was thunder outside, and bolts of lightning danced like snakes. Ah! Lu Ji was so scared that he hugged Yang Wu. Yang Wu reacted quickly and raised his leg to kick him to the ground. Lu Ji was really good. He actually crawled back and hugged Yang Wu's leg and said, "Vice Commander, give me a chance. I really can give you some advice." Yang Wu looked at this timid and pitiful Lu Ji and his heart softened. He pointed at the documents in front of the desk and said, "Okay, I'll give you 1 day to finish reading these things for me. Also, organize them and find a solution. Otherwise, scram." Yes, I definitely won't have any problems." Lu Ji hurriedly replied. He didn't dare to stand up. Instead, he curled up and started flipping through the notebook, as if he was afraid that the lightning outside would strike him. He complained in his heart, "Is there any justice left? I'm just speaking the truth. Why doesn't anyone believe me? I must prove to everyone that I, Lu Ji, am unparalleled in wisdom." After Lu Ji looked at the words in the notebook, his aura immediately changed. His eyes were so focused. He held a pen in one hand and flipped through the pages with the other. From time to time, he would record the contents and matters inside. Yang Wu watched from the side and felt a little strange. However, he quickly dismissed it. He felt that Lu Ji was too good at bragging and pretending. He really couldn't take it seriously. Splash, splash, splash. A wave of winter rain fell. The impact caused the tent to resound with the sound of water splashing. Yang Wu smelled the scent of the water and only felt a wave of comfort. Without even thinking, he rushed out of the tent and landed outside to do his stance. Dragon Turtle Water Suppression Stance. This was a stance technique that evolved from the Dragon Turtle Sea Turning technique. It had a strong suction force towards water profound energy. Furthermore, he had the water profound pearl on him at all times, which was a foreign object that was close to water. As he stood there, a large amount of water profound energy gathered towards him. As the rain fell on his body, the pores all over his body opened up. Profound energy seeped into his body. The peach core dantian was quickly absorbing this energy. It was difficult for any heaven and earth profound energy to reach 100% purity. However, the peach core dantian could purify it into the purest profound energy. This made Yang Wu's profound energy even more extraordinary and his attack power even more domineering. Now, Yang Wu had reached the general realm. If he wanted to break through to the Earthsea realm, he had to transform the profound energy in his dantian into a sea of profound energy. He had to make his dantian become like a sea that could integrate 100 rivers. The profound energy would liquefy and transform into a sea bit by bit. Yang Wu's peach core dantian was incomparably vast. There is still a long way to go to transform the profound energy here into a sea of profound energy. Now, he was in the water, feeling the rhythm of the rain. The cool feeling made him feel as if he had comprehended something. He operated the supreme 9 mysteries formula and constantly compressed his profound energy. The profound energy that seeped in bit by bit naturally turned into liquid chi and fell into his dantian. Ding ding. The transformed profound chi liquid was like raindrops falling down bit by bit. Just like the rain that filled the sky, it was incomparably magical and incomparably charming. While Yang Wu was transforming these liquid chi, his aura was rising steadily, and his strength was also improving. If anyone knew that Yang Wu had reached the stage of liquefying profound energy just a few days after breaking through to the general realm, they would probably hit their heads against a wall and die. Many people had broken through to the general realm, but they had been stuck in the primary realm and could not make any progress. Many of them did not know how to liquefy profound energy, so they could not make any further progress. Yang Wu's comprehension was indeed incomparable to that of ordinary people. At the same time, His kidneys were also devouring the liquid qi. The kidneys belonged to the water element, so they yearned for water profound energy the most. Something was awakening and growing there. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. Yang Wu's absorption speed was getting faster and faster. The Supreme Nine Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle water suppression stance were both extraordinary secret skills. Coupled with the mysterious water bead, Yang Wu's strength had reached the middle stage of the primary general realm. The speed of his improvement made many people feel ashamed. When the rain stopped, night also began to fall. Yang Wu slowly opened his eyes and ended half a day's practice of standing still. He opened his hand, and a drop of water condensed in his palm. Profound qi condensed. This was an ability that could only be achieved after reaching the Earth-Sea realm. Interesting. Yang Wu muttered to himself with satisfaction. Then he dispersed the drop of water and returned to the tent. When he saw the document that Lu Ji had compiled, he was shocked on the spot. Chapter 173. Yang Wu had brought back a stack of official documents from the cold-faced adjutant. They recorded the information of everyone in the Death Legion, the contribution points they had earned, and the various important matters that the Death Legion had to deal with. These official documents gave Yang Wu a headache. However, Lu Ji had already categorized them and quickly made comments, indicating the next step of the solution and emergency measures. Yang Wu scanned through the records here. Among them, he was most concerned about the winter storage plan. It was written, divide into groups to guard and hunt. Food will be divided equally. Half of the food will be stored in the Legion, and the other half will be handled by individuals. Animal skins can be used as winter clothing and do not need to be turned in. Build bonfire pits and collect wood to keep warm. Similarly, this will be carried out in batches. 2 birds with 1 stone. The plans that Lu Ji listed were very simple to understand and not difficult to implement. However, it was really not easy for him to come up with a solution in such a short period of time. In the past, the Death Legion was like a plate of loose sand. Now, they had to follow Lu Ji's suggestion and manage them together to form an effective combat team. Not only did they have to survive this winter, but they also had to make use of this winter to generally improve the combat awareness of these soldiers. Such a proposal went straight to Yang Wu's heart. Yang Wu was a member of the Death Legion and had a deep understanding of how everyone worked for themselves. Everyone did their own thing, and it was difficult to form a structured battle. Even if they went to hunt the barbarians, they would most likely die. However, there were many experts in the general realm in the Death Legion, and the others were all at the warrior realm. If they could be grouped together, not only could they reduce the casualties, but they could also allow everyone to hunt for contribution points. In any case, everything in the Death Legion was managed by themselves and did not need to care about the feelings of the other barracks. This way, there would not be any obstacles. Lu Ji's only concern was, the people in the Death Legion are not fierce people. Can it be disciplined? This wasn't a problem for Yang Wu. Even if he couldn't discipline them, the 9 deputy commanders would certainly be able to discipline them. Vice Commander, cough. I can only watch this much. There's still a third left. Can you give me a little more time? Lu Ji covered his mouth and coughed. He was afraid that Yang Wu would be dissatisfied and kick him out. After all, he had tried his best. Being able to see so much in half a day and come up with a solution was already his limit. Haha, no rush. We have plenty of time. Let's drink some wine first. Yang Wu laughed. Lu Ji hurriedly waved his hand and said, No. I'll drink it after I'm done. He was afraid that Yang Wu would ask him to leave after he finished drinking, so he was determined not to drink. He had to find a way to stay. He had enough of the days outside. He was bullied all day long, and food was a big problem. Now that the opportunity to turn over a new leaf was in front of him, he had to seize it. Yang Wu patted Lu Ji's shoulder and said solemnly, Don't worry. You'll be this vice commander's advisor in the future. All the important matters here will be handed over to you, so you don't have to worry. Really? Cough. Lu Ji exclaimed excitedly. Of course. The way you handle things is very clear. I think it's feasible. With you around in the future, I can rest assured. Yang Wu had completely forgotten about Lu Ji's bragging. He felt that perhaps Lu Ji was born to be an advisor. The heavens have taken pity on me, The heavens have taken pity on me. I, Lu Ji, finally have someone who appreciates me. Lu Ji cried out a few times with tears streaming down his face. He then bowed respectfully to Yang Wu. This etiquette was many times more solemn than when he had knelt before. It was clear that it came from the bottom of his heart. "Advisor, you don't have to do this," Yang Wu said as he helped Lu Ji up. Lu Ji held Yang Wu's hand and said excitedly, Lu Ji's greatest wish in this life is to be an unparalleled strategist who can devise strategies in a tent. It's a pity that I've met so many extraordinary people. Today I have met my lord. I will do my best until my death. Lu Ji's appearance was perhaps the best proof of a gentleman dying for his own sake. He was practically itching to treat Yang Wu as his second parent. His eyes were filled with a burning passion. Yang Wu felt goosebumps rise. He forcefully pulled his hand back and said, "Don't be so excited. Just call me Vice Commander. Do well. I won't treat you unfairly." "Yes, my lord," Lu Ji immediately said with a serious expression. Yang Wu slapped his forehead. He was too lazy to pay attention to Lu Ji. He was afraid that the more he spoke, the more excited this fellow would become. He took out some wine and meat and once again ate and drank with Lu Ji. At the same time, they chatted about official matters. As expected, once Lu Ji started talking about official matters, his entire person became extremely spirited. There was no trace of his previous cowardly appearance. His words were organized and supported by evidence. He even refuted some of Yang Wu's viewpoints and opinions. Only now did Yang Wu understand that Lu Ji was the real deal. Compared to the spineless person from before, he was practically a different person. "Wait until tomorrow. I'll carry out the plan according to your method. If it works, I'll give you 1,000 merit points," Yang Wu said very seriously. "Many thanks, my lord." Lu Ji thanked him. Yang Wu was too lazy to correct Lu Ji's form of address. He said to Lu Ji, "You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow, I'll have someone build a tent for you." Lu Ji was extremely moved. In his heart, his loyalty to Yang Wu had already reached the point of death. Lu Ji had followed his parents everywhere since he was young. At that time, his parents were still running a small business and lived a decent life. Later, they encountered bandits and his parents were killed. He was lucky enough to survive. However, he lived a life of vagrancy. When he arrived at a poor county, he used the last of his parents' belongings to support his studies. This was also his parents' only wish after their death. They hoped that he could become a scholar and one day be an official in the imperial court. He could rule the country and bring peace to the world. It was also at that time that he was fortunate enough to attend a few of Sun Rue's classes. He was even tricked by Sun Rue into buying a book called 24 Volumes on Governing the World and Saving the Nation. According to that old man, this was a work of wisdom that he had painstakingly written. He wouldn't sell it to normal people. He only sold it to Lu Ji because he liked him and felt that he had the root of wisdom. At that time, Lu Ji was full of fighting spirit. He felt that he would be an unparalleled strategist in the future. He would enter the imperial court and be conferred the title of Marquis in the near future. Later, he barely managed to pass the examination and become a scholar. He couldn't even become a Jiren. This was a big blow to him. However, he still looked forward to the future because he firmly believed in the words of the sage. When heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility on a man, it must first torment his will, toil his muscles and bones, starve his body and skin, empty his body and walk, and disturb his actions. Therefore, his heart is moved and his nature is tempered, and he can do what he can't. It wasn't until he was sent to the Death Legion that he completely gave up. All of this was just nonsense. His life was already precarious. How could he talk about the ideal of ruling the country? He was just a small figure destined to be a tragedy. During this period of time in the Death Legion, Lu Ji's mentality suffered a serious blow. This was also the reason why he became so servile. Now, he finally saw a glimmer of hope. Naturally, he would tightly hug Yang Wu's thigh and not let go. Moreover, Yang Wu's deeds had already spread throughout the entire military camp. There was no one who didn't know about it. Even Zhou Yong specially told him to properly grasp this opportunity. He knew that following Yang Wu would at least give him meat to eat. Whether or not he could change his fate, He didn't want to think about it for the time being. Yang Wu let Lu Ji sleep on his bed. Lu Ji was unwilling no matter what. He waited until Yang Wu took out his dignity as the deputy regiment commander. Only then did he obediently submit. Lu Ji curled up in a quilt. He looked at Yang Wu and nervously said, "Deputy regiment commander, you won't do anything to me, right? I'm actually sick. You don't need to emphasize it to me. I'm only interested in women. I have no interest in you." Yang Wu rolled his eyes. "Then I'm relieved," Lu Ji said with a sigh of relief. Yang Wu was really speechless. He felt that Lu Ji was really the best. He had the same personality as old Master Sun Rue. Thinking of this, he suddenly had an idea. Since he could use Lu Ji, it would be better to use Sun Rue. He believed that the old man also wanted to get out of the mountain prison. He didn't have the ability to interfere with the affairs there now, but he might be able to persuade the Rose of Death to help him. Since the day he separated from the Rose of Death, he had been unable to find her. He still had something important to discuss with her. Yang Wu sat down cross-legged and meditated. He wanted to expand his universal space again and familiarize himself with the functions of his divine court Dao flower. Previously, after he broke through to the general realm, his universal space directly increased to the size of 3 cubic meters. This was a natural increase. In addition, he could expand it again. He activated the power of his Dantian and then activated the mental power in the divine court. The two combined and used the 8 extraordinary scriptures as a bridge to generate new power to expand his universal space. After the divine court Dao flower bloomed, Yang Wu felt that his spiritual sense was extremely powerful. This was also the reason why he could repel Xue Ji's fatal embroidery needle. He didn't use the power of sound waves to repel the embroidery needle. Instead, he used the impact formed by his mental power. At that time, he didn't think too much. He only tried to activate the divine court Dao flower to save himself. In fact, he did succeed. His divine court Dao flower's mental power formed an invisible ocean. It was very majestic. His spiritual sense was not inferior to any king's. Some kings couldn't even compare to it. With the combination of the power of his Dantian and mental power, his universal space once again expanded to the size of 5 cubic meters. Now, it could accommodate more things. At this moment, Yang Wu suddenly saw this strange power in his kidney. He took a closer look and exclaimed, "Oh my God! When did my kidney grow a pair of wings?" Lu Ji, who had been sleeping restlessly, was so scared that he fell off the bed when he heard Yang Wu's strange cry. Chapter 174. His kidneys had grown wings. What a frightening thing this was. Yang Wu was just expanding his universal space, but to his surprise, he found that a pair of small blue crystal wings had formed around his kidneys. This pair of small blue wings was condensed from qi. They were still in an extremely young state, floating around his kidneys. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to find their existence. Yang Wu was really shocked when he suddenly saw their existence. Transforming qi into wings was something that only the king of the Earthsea realm could do. He had just stepped into the initial general realm a few days ago, and he had never thought that he would have such a change. "Deputy Commander, are you okay?" Lu Ji got up and asked Yang Wu. "I'm fine. Go back to sleep." After Yang Wu said this, he rushed out of the tent and found a place where there was no one and sat down quietly again. Now, he was quite excited. He felt that the wings on his kidneys might be a good thing, not a bad thing. He had to try and see if he could transform qi into wings like a king and then fly in the air. Don't be excited. Don't be excited. Maybe it's just my illusion. Yang Wu took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He felt that this happiness came too suddenly and was a little unbelievable. Who didn't want to fly in the air? Who didn't want to roam the world? That was the dream of any warrior. Only by stepping into the domain of the air could one be considered a real expert. Before stepping into that domain, one was just an ordinary person. Yang Wu felt that these wings would definitely allow him to step into that domain in advance. He couldn't wait to try and activate them to see if it was really so. Yang Wu first adjusted his state to the best, then used the chi in his dantian to draw in and strengthen the pair of wings. At first, Yangwu only drew in a small amount of energy and slowly tested it. After the crystal wings were infused with energy, they slowly grew stronger. It works! Yangwu was overjoyed, so he poured a large amount of qi into his kidneys and completely activated the pair of wings. Swoosh! Sure enough, the wings flew away. Yangwu was completely dumbfounded. He thought that after he poured his power into the wings, he would grow a pair of wings like a king and fly in the air. However, the situation now was completely different because the wings were his own kidneys. They did not fly with his body as he thought. Yangwu stared blankly at the pair of translucent wings that flew out of the kidney. Each wing was about the size of a palm, and it emitted an extremely bright and pure light in the night. Yangwu was disappointed, but he also felt that this pair of wings was not as simple as it seemed. He could feel that it was like a part of his body, completely under his control and command. Test it. Yangwu gave the order, and it flew. Yangwu was very curious. He constantly guided it with his spiritual sense. If he wanted it to fly to the east, it would fly to the east. If he wanted it to fly to the west, it would fly to the west. Moreover, its speed was so fast that he almost couldn't catch it with his eyes. It might be one of my innate divine abilities. It must have other uses. Yangwu pondered for a while and came to a conclusion. Thus, he looked at a tree not far away. With a thought, he used the pair of wings to fly towards the tree. The wings were like a shooting star in the night, passing through the middle of the tree trunk in an instant. The tree trunk was still intact. Yangwu felt extremely disappointed. He muttered, "Could it be that this is just a useless thing?" The moment he retracted his wings, the tree suddenly broke and collapsed. This time, Yangwu opened his eyes wide and quickly flew towards the tree. He looked carefully and found that there was an extremely smooth cut where his wings had just swept across the tree trunk. These wings can attack. It really is one of my potential talents. Haha. Yangwu laughed with incomparable excitement. Thus, he once again used his wings to attack another tree. That tree once again followed in the footsteps of the previous tree. When Yangwu wanted to use it a third time, he found that the wings had become somewhat dim. It was very obvious that it was because he didn't have enough power. Yangwu put it back into the kidney, and it returned to a very small state once again. It needed new energy to appear again. Yangwu made a few attempts and confirmed that this idea was not wrong. It should be a pair of sharp blade wings. In the future, it won't be difficult for me to use them to kill enemies. If I encounter those kings flying in the air, I can also shoot them down. This kind of potential talent can be called a divine skill. Yangwu thought to himself proudly. In the end, he named it Hidden Blade Wings. This was a hidden killing weapon, and it would become his ultimate killing move. At the same time, he also guessed that it shouldn't be so simple. Perhaps it would only reveal its ultimate form when he became stronger step by step. When Yangwu returned to the tent again, it was already dawn. Luji was no longer in the tent. He had no idea where he had run off to. Yangwu decided to settle all the matters today. Thus, he sent someone to call the 8 great commanders over. The 8 great commanders had yet to arrive, but Lu Ji had returned once again. Yangwu was once again shocked by Lu Ji. You're Lu Ji? Yangwu asked with a look of disbelief. Deputy Commander, are you shocked by my handsomeness? I told you before that it was really the county magistrate's concubine who seduced me. Do you believe me now? Lu Ji said with a somewhat bashful look on his face. This time, Yangwu really believed him. He nodded repeatedly and said, Yes, it should be her who seduced you. If it were me, I would have done the same. You're simply a woman. The current Lu Ji was vastly different from the one he had been yesterday. If yesterday he was like a beggar that no one was willing to take a second look at, then now he was clean and handsome like a beautiful lady. He had changed into a clean set of clothes that he had probably found in Yangwu's tent. He wasn't short to begin with, but after changing, he looked much taller. His thin body even gave off the feeling of a scholar who couldn't stand up to a gust of wind. However, all of this wasn't the main point. The main point was that his clean face was too damn handsome and charming. His eyes were long and narrow, His eyelashes were long and slender, his nose was sharp, and his lips were sparkling and translucent. It was a perfect match. His fringe even fell down, making him look like a living beauty. If it wasn't for the Adam's apple on his throat, everyone would probably treat him as a beauty. Such a ridiculously beautiful man. No wonder the county magistrate's concubine wanted to invite him to see her change into new clothes. Just as Yang Wu said, if he were a woman, he would also want to do the same. Cough, cough. Deputy Commander, don't look at me like that. I'm a real man. I can only blame my parents for giving birth to me so handsome. Since I was young, I've always been harassed and harassed by different women. Even men want to see me as a woman. Those days were really unbearable. Deputy Commander, please don't be like them, or I won't be a private advisor anymore. Lu Ji spoke as if he couldn't bear to look back on the past. When he coughed, his face flushed red, making him look even more unbelievably beautiful. You really are an evildoer. Fortunately, you're a man. Otherwise, I would really do you on the spot. Yang Wu sighed and said, forget it. In the future, it's better if you stay indoors and don't go out. What? Don't tell me you want to hide me? That's not right. Lu Ji protested. I'm just afraid that but will explode. Yang Wu said as he rolled his eyes. To be honest, he was a little jealous that the other party was more handsome than him. It was simply unreasonable. In the future, even if I have a woman, I can't bring her to meet this guy. Yang Wu made up his mind. He was afraid that he would follow in the footsteps of the county magistrate. If that happened, his head would be really green. Lu Ji was so scared that he covered his butt and didn't dare to say anything else. When he first came to the Death Legion, he had indeed almost encountered that kind of thing several times. Even now, he still remembered it vividly. AI, it's not my fault that I'm handsome. Lu Ji sighed heavily. This time, Yang Wu didn't doubt the authenticity of Lu Ji's words at all. He was sure that Lu Ji was a very honest guy. At the same time, he had the urge to beat Lu Ji's face into a pig's head. Not long after, the 8 commanders all arrived at the tent. Yang Wu sat in front of the couch, while Lu Ji stood obediently beside him. His head was lowered to his chest, and he didn't dare to raise it, afraid that others would see his face. Yang Wu introduced to the people present. In the future, Lu Ji will be my advisor. You have to respect him as much as you respect me. Do you understand? Yes, Vice Commander. Many of the commanders said in unison. Yang Wu was only 17 years old, but his battle strength was too abnormal. No one dared to disobey him. It could be said that in the Death Legion, apart from the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant, Yang Wu's words are the most intimidating. All right, Lu Ji, tell them about your plan. How are you going to let our Death Legion survive the winter? How are you going to reduce the casualties? How are you going to increase the cohesion of our Death Legion? How are you going to increase our combat strength? After Yang Wu finished speaking, Lu Ji began to talk about his plan. However, he spoke a bit softly and lowered his head, looking very awkward. Lu Ji, raise your head and speak. Yang Wu shouted at Lu Ji. Lu Ji immediately raised his head and puffed out his chest, saying loudly, my plan is like this. According to the Vice Commander's instructions, we're going to split into 8 small teams. With Commander Xue Ji as the leader and the others as support, we're going to hunt beasts for meat and use beast hides as clothing. Originally, no one wanted to listen to Lu Ji's nonsense, but when they saw Lu Ji's appearance, they couldn't help but focus their gazes on him. Most of them couldn't take their eyes off him. This female advisor is so beautiful. The 8 commanders all exclaimed in their hearts. Yang Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw the expressions of these commanders. He didn't know if having a monster like Lu Ji by his side would bring him trouble in the future. Chapter 175. The weather gradually became colder. The gray sky was mixed with gusts of cold wind, causing the battles at the border to stop. If there was a war between the 2 armies, it would wait until spring next year when the ice and snow melted. If they started a war now, it would be very disadvantageous for the attacking side. On one hand, the soldiers wouldn't be able to withstand the cold. On the other hand, the unpredictable weather would determine the direction of the war. In this kind of weather, the Death Legion began to mobilize. The various teams divided up their work in an orderly manner. Some entered the mountain wolves to hunt monsters and use meat to exchange for merits. Others used meat to survive the winter. Some cut down trees and brought back large amounts of trees to the Legion so that they could make fires for warmth during the winter. Some even began to dig caves to avoid the cold. When the ice and snow arrived, the originally scattered Death Legion suddenly became orderly. Only the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant knew. The others hadn't noticed the changes in the Death Legion for the time being. They were currently paying attention to the competition between the new junior marshal and major general. On the lonely peak, the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant stood together. They looked down at the soldiers below the Death Legion and conversed. "The Legion has changed a lot these days," the cold-faced adjutant said softly. "Is that so?" the Rose of Death said disapprovingly. These two people had cold personalities. It wasn't easy for them to coexist together. "Yes, I don't know if it's right for you to let Yang Wu be the deputy commander. The Death Legion's final fate is death. He gave the Death Legion vitality. This is something some people don't want to see," the cold-faced adjutant said. "So what if they don't want to see it? The barbarian army will definitely attack in spring. They may all die, but I hope that fewer of them will die," the Rose of Death replied. "This isn't your style," the cold-faced adjutant said to the Rose of Death. "People change," the Rose of Death said expressionlessly. "Yes, people change," the cold-faced adjutant agreed. After a pause, he said, "The new festival has begun. Our Death Legion has been deprived of the position of junior marshal and major general." "They're afraid," the Rose of Death said. "Yes, they're afraid. They're afraid that the position of young commander will fall to a prison slave soldier. This is something they can't tolerate. It can also be seen that they don't have confidence in the new generation. How can they win against the barbarian army like this?" The cold-faced adjutant sighed. "That's not what we care about. We only care about how to survive," the Rose of Death said indifferently. "Yes, I hope I'll still be alive when winter comes next year." The cold-faced adjutant looked up at the sky with a sorrowful expression. On the Barbarian Suppression battle platform, the 18 battle platforms were in full swing. This was a grand event held once every 5 years. Within half a month, a young marshal and 8 major generals would be selected, and they would have the opportunity to replace the current 9 magnates in the future. In the entire army, only the Death Legion was disqualified. As long as the members of the other legions were not over 30 years old, they could challenge the Death Legion. Out of a large army of more than 100,000 people, at least 1/3 of them were young people under the age of 30, and there were more than 10,000 people participating in the challenge. These 10,000 people at least had a little confidence in themselves and a little strength, so they dared to participate. Not every one of these people wanted to win the position of young commander or major general. They wanted to use this challenge grand event to test what level they could reach. At the same time, it was a kind of training for themselves. Before this grand event, Fun Yaoyang, who was the most popular prospective young marshal, had indeed shown an invincible posture. He had basically swept all his opponents along the way. In addition, there were more than 10 people who were expected to reach the position of major general. The biggest dark horse was an outsider who had just joined the army. This outsider was called Li Ziying. It was rumored that he was a district chief from the nearby Wolf Smoke Mountain Range. He had reached the advanced general realm before the age of 30, and he also had powerful combat skills that could shake top general realm experts. From the moment he appeared, he had won 7 battles in a row. In each battle, he defeated his opponent with one move. His attacks were even more ruthless, and they were basically murderous. With these 7 victories, Li Ziying gained a lot of popularity. In addition, Wan Lanxin also participated in this challenge grand event. Wan Lanxin had also reached the advanced general realm. Her spear skills were extraordinary, and she had defeated all her opponents along the way. Whether she could become a major general or not was not a question, but at least she could enter the top 100. While this flourishing age was in full swing, on a mountain near the purification pool, a young man was cultivating diligently. In the cold weather of early winter, this young man was running through the mountains bare-chested with a huge rock on his back. This young man was Shouho. He looked a little older, but in fact, he was only 19 years old, only 2 years older than Yangwu. Shouho's strength had already reached the advanced warrior realm long ago, and he could carry at least 10 ding of strength. The rock on his back was estimated to weigh 10,000 kilograms, which was completely within his bearing range. However, it was extremely difficult for him to run. Every step he took made a deep pit in the ground, and sweat kept dripping from his face. His bearing force did not mainly come from the rock itself, but from the one-armed old man sitting on the rock. The one-armed old man's body was much weaker than the rock, but he sat on it as steady as a rock, motionless. He was Shouho's master, Zhou Yidao. Since Shouho became Zhou Yidao's disciple, he did not teach Shouho any martial arts, nor did he teach him any cultivation method. Because he knew that Shouho already had the cultivation method, he did not ask him to change it. He just wanted Shouho to keep refining his body. Shouho was exhausted by Zhou Yidao every day, and he had almost no time to rest. He had to face Zhou Yidao's forced training at any time. Shouho's realm did not improve, but his strength was growing rapidly. Moreover, he was gradually able to control the awakening of the blood in his body. When Shouho finished a day's training, he threw the rock on his back out heavily. The rock, which weighed 10,000 kilograms, rolled far away like a meteor. After Shouho threw the rock, he wanted to lie down and rest, but when he saw his master appear in front of him indifferently, he immediately got into a horse stance and ran his own cultivation method to eliminate fatigue. At this time, the internal force in his body grew considerably, and his acupoints exploded like beans at this moment. Not only that, the internal force in his meridians twitched wildly, and his dantian seemed to have been hungry for a long time, crazily absorbing the heaven and earth xian qi from the outside world. Shouho's aura rose steadily, and finally, he steadily broke through to the top warrior realm. When Shouho finished his breakthrough, there was no surprise on his face. He bowed slightly to his master and said, "Thank you for your teachings, master. Well, it's good that you understand. The power that has been suppressing you, once released, will be of great benefit to your breakthrough." Zhou Yidao said with appreciation. As for Shouho's breakthrough in such a short time, as his master, he was also very happy. However, if he knew that Shouho actually had the ability to break through to the general realm, who knew what he would think? Now, Shouho had opened a total of 365 acupoints. For an ordinary martial artist, once they reached this number, they would be able to condense profound armor and become a general in one fell swoop. However, Shouho did not do so because he remembered what Yangwu had said to him. He had to break through 720 acupoints and open the 8 extraordinary meridians. This was the foundation of opening the martial body. Shouho believed Yangwu's words without a doubt, so he suppressed his impulse to break through again. "Big brother, I will catch up with you as soon as possible." Shouho was full of confidence in himself. After his bloodline had awakened, the profound formula inside his body was circulating, and it was much smoother and more suitable for him than the profound formula that Yangwu had passed on to him. This was also the reason why he was able to make breakthroughs in such a short time. Little Hay once said that Shouho was born with a fighting martial body and could become a god of war in the future. This was definitely not a lie, because the origin of the bloodline in Shouho's body was quite amazing. That's all for today. After tomorrow, I will teach you combat skills. You have to continue to work hard and strive to reach the general realm as soon as possible. Zhou Yidao encouraged Shouho. Outside the military camp, several teenagers hurriedly emerged from the mountain range. The soldiers on guard surrounded them, but the leader of the teenagers showed his token and said proudly, "I'm Tang Chunsheng, the 5th prince. Take us to see your marshal immediately." If Yangwu were here, he would definitely recognize that these teenagers were the ones he had met in the mountain range. After the conflict with Yangwu, they had wanted to leave the mountain range. But later, they encountered some things one after another, which made them gain something. The 5th prince had even broken through to the intermediate general realm, so his pride had soared to the sky. How could these soldiers dare to doubt the 5th prince's words? They hurriedly led them to the marshal's tent. On the way, Lin Chi saw a figure hurriedly passing by. She said in surprise, "It's him. Junior Sister Lin, what's wrong?" The fifth prince asked when he saw Lin Chi stop. "Nothing. I just thought I saw someone who looked like Viscount Yang we met in the mountain range," Lin Chi said honestly. When the fifth prince heard the words Viscount Yang, a ferocious look immediately appeared on his face. He said, "It better not be him. Otherwise, I will drag him out and tear him to pieces." He recalled that in a mountain range, a prince was actually robbed. This was really a very sullen thing. Fifth prince, let the past be the past, Lin Chi advised. She still felt a little guilty toward Yang Wu. Yang Wu saved her, but he was misunderstood by her companions, which led to some unhappiness later. She really did not want the fifth prince to kill Yang Wu. "If I don't take revenge, I won't be able to vent the hatred in my heart," the fifth prince said firmly. Chapter 176. Lin Chi didn't recognize the wrong person. The back she saw was indeed Yang Wu. Yang Wu's senses were outstanding, but he didn't pay attention. He also didn't think that the people he bullied would actually come to this military camp. At this moment, he was rushing to the Rose of Death's camp. "I don't know what's up with that girl. It's been a few days, and she only remembered to see me. Could it be that she really doesn't have any feelings for me?" Yang Wu asked himself with deep thoughts. These few days, he and Lu Ji had worked hard for the Death Legion and were finally on the right track. However, the Death Legion didn't have any equipment, which was also a big problem. They would be at a great disadvantage once war broke out. Yang Wu was the vice commander, so he had to think of a way to upgrade his subordinates' equipment, right? Moreover, he had something he wanted to discuss with the Rose of Death. Yang Wu arrived in front of the Rose of Death's camp. This was like a lonely guardian camp, standing alone at the front of the army. Once war broke out, it would be the first to be attacked. Its owner would naturally be the first to guard this territory. Yang Wu couldn't help but feel a trace of heartache for the Rose of Death. The Grand Xia dynasty actually wanted a girl to guard the first checkpoint. It was truly too hateful. Yang Wu stepped into the camp. The Rose of Death was already waiting. Today, she didn't wear a veil, revealing her breathtakingly beautiful face. Her exquisite facial features seemed to have been carefully carved. Her hair was tied up simply, with a few strands of hair hanging down her forehead, adding a bit of liveliness to her cold face. She wore a set of black skin-tight clothes that tightly outlined her devilish figure. It was truly extremely seductive. Yang Wu was at the age where he was full of vigor. Seeing her like this, he couldn't control himself and stared at her blankly, unable to return to his senses. After a while, the Rose of Death said faintly, "Have you seen enough?" Yang Wu wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and answered honestly, "Not enough." The Rose of Death couldn't do anything about Yang Wu's shamelessness. She couldn't bring herself to kill him, so she could only let him be. "I called you here today because I have two things to tell you. The first is that the battle for the position of Major General and Major General is ongoing. You must restrain your subordinates and not let them go to the challenge stage to cause trouble. Our Death Corps is not qualified to participate. Anyone who causes trouble will be killed without mercy. The second is that we've received reliable news that after winter, the barbarian army will come south and wage an all-out war with our army. We must prepare for battle as soon as possible," the Rose of Death said clearly and concisely. "The cold adjutant has already told me about this. I know what to do." Yang Wu nodded. Yang Wu was still very unwilling. He also wanted to participate in the battle for the position of young marshal and major general. That way, he could openly obtain a military identity and return to Yunqing as soon as possible to hold his head high. However, the soldiers of the Death Corps couldn't participate in the battle for the position of Major General and Major General. This also meant that everything he did in the Death Corps wouldn't be recognized by the military. This was completely meaningless to him. These days, he had the idea of withdrawing from the Death Corps, but after a deep discussion with Lu Ji, he decided to continue staying. Lu Ji analyzed to him that although the Death Corps wasn't valued now, it didn't mean that they wouldn't be valued in the future. Once the Death Corps was nurtured into a team with full combat power and established a career on the battlefield, the Death Corps would become an indispensable part of the military. The military would naturally pay attention to them. Yang Wu felt that Lu Ji's analysis was reasonable, and he also had his own ideas. This was also the reason why he had been so eager to see the Rose of Death. The Rose of Death was instantly speechless. In fact, she called Yang Wu over because she wanted to see him. Could she say it out loud? Ever since Yang Wu saved her and saw her naked, she had some feelings in her heart. She was an extremely traditional woman. After being seen naked, she naturally wanted to kill Yang Wu. In the end, she couldn't do it and wanted to use the barbarians to kill Yang Wu. However, Yang Wu was like a cockroach that couldn't be killed. He stubbornly survived. His continuous stunning performance attracted her attention, and she repeatedly made an exception to support him. She also didn't know why she did this. She only knew that she followed her heart. It wasn't until they reached the lonely peak and Yang Wu hugged her and licked her ear that her state of mind was completely messed up. She really had different feelings for him. It was very strange, and she couldn't put her finger on it. It was just that when she was cultivating, she would occasionally think of him and have an impulse to see him. It was because of this that she called Yang Wu over and told him some things that she didn't need to personally tell him. Originally, some of the matters were handled by the cold-faced adjutant. She was only a commander in name. Yang Wu saw the awkward silence and took advantage of the situation to say, "Commander, I have a very important matter to discuss with you. Speak." Yang Wu broke the awkward atmosphere first, allowing the Rose of Death to let out a sigh of relief. Otherwise, she really didn't know what to say. "I have a pill here for you." Yang Wu changed his method and took out a bone revitalization pill. The Rose of Death wiped away her confusion and took the bone revitalization pill. She carefully examined it and smelled the pill fragrance. "What kind of healing pill is this?" "The quality is very good and can be called a top-grade spirit pill. This is a bone revitalization pill. It can heal injuries and can also restore broken bones. It should also be effective for kings." "See, I'm treating you well," Yang Wu said with a bit of flattery. "Don't be so talkative." "What do you mean?" The Rose of Death wasn't a 15 or 16-year-old girl. She wouldn't be so easily infatuated. "According to my understanding, our entire army doesn't have any medicine refiners, but we have soldiers injured every day. The large amount of healing pills in the army's inventory is scarce, and there are very few that have reached the spirit rank. Therefore, the number of soldiers retiring from the army due to injuries and even the number of deaths is at least 5,000 or even higher. Am I right?" Yang Wu asked with a serious expression. "Pretty much." The Rose of Death didn't know what Yang Wu was trying to keep her in suspense and casually replied, "I'm saying, if our army has a medicine refiner who can provide pills for the army, what do you think the situation will be like?" Yang Wu hypothesized. The Rose of Death's beautiful eyes narrowed, and she shouted, "What if what you said is true? Answer my question first." Yang Wu said calmly, "If it's really as you said, then a medicine refiner can do whatever he wants in the army. He can have anything he wants. Even an important position in the army wouldn't be a problem." The Rose of Death said with certainty, "This won't have any other impact on our army?" Yang Wu was startled. "If such a talent appears, do you think he'll stay in the Death Corps and throw his life away?" The Rose of Death asked in return. This time, Yang Wu understood. He nodded and said, "It's indeed as you said. It seems I was a bit naive. What are you trying to do? Can't you be more straightforward like a man and finish it?" The Rose of Death said impatiently, "Whether or not I'm a man, we'll only know after I try." Yang Wu ignored the Rose of Death's mood and said teasingly. However, he knew when to stop and quickly cut to the chase. "Actually, I'm a medicine refiner. As long as you give me the ingredients, I can refine pills endlessly. I didn't tell anyone but you. You must keep this a secret from me." Yang Wu obviously couldn't say that his little hay dog could refine pills. No one would believe him if he said that. However, the Rose of Death didn't believe him when he said he was a medicine refiner. She directly rolled her eyes at him. "Sister Rose, what's with that look? Let me tell you, don't look down on me. Refining pills and medicine is like playing with me." Yang Wu couldn't stand the Rose of Death's disdainful look and immediately patted his chest. "Then refine one for me to see." This can't be looked down on so easily. Refining pills is very sacred. It won't work if there's someone nearby. Yang Wu didn't know how to refine pills, so how could he demonstrate to the Rose of Death on the spot? However, the Rose of Death was still indifferent even when he guaranteed that he could refine pills. In the end, Yang Wu had no choice but to take out a bone revitalization pill and some healing pills that Little Hay had refined for him to prove that he could refine pills. Who knew that the Rose of Death would sweep away all the pills he took out, leaving not a single one for him? Hey, I'm just showing them to you. I'm not giving them to you, Yang Wu said anxiously. I won't take them for free. I'll give you mystic spirit stones and a batch of ingredients. Consider it my exchange for you. A trace of pride appeared on the Rose of Death's face. She then continued, Didn't you say you knew how to refine pills? Aren't you afraid of running out of pills with the ingredients? Yang Wu opened his mouth, but didn't have the strength to refute. His face was extremely gloomy as he scolded himself in his heart. Don't pretend for no reason. This is retribution. He rejoiced that he didn't take out the last resurrection pill. That was the most precious pill. Afterward, the Rose of Death made good on her words and took out several hundred low-grade mystic spirit stones and several hundred medicinal herbs for Yang Wu. Universe ring. Yang Wu exclaimed softly as he stared at an inconspicuous ring on the Rose of Death's ring finger. Don't you have a universe ring yourself? Don't make a fuss over nothing, the Rose of Death said. She paused for a moment before adding, If you can refine pills in batches, I can report it to the higher-ups and let you transfer to another military camp. You'll also receive their protection and won't be dealt with again. Forget it. I just hope you know that I can really refine large amounts of healing pills and spirit pills. Right now, I don't want too many people to know my identity. I want to do this in the name of the Death Corps. At the same time, I can ask for some military funds from the higher-ups so that my subordinates can live better, Yang Wu said sincerely. The Rose of Death looked at Yang Wu, who didn't seem to be faking it, and some ripples appeared in her heart. This young man wasn't a selfish and short-sighted person. He was broad-minded and far-sighted. Perhaps this place really couldn't trap him. One day, he would break through the shackles and look down on the 9 heavens. Chapter 177. Yang Wu was born in a noble family and had been taught well since he was young. He also treated his servants with great care. His father had said that if he wanted his servants to do their best for the family, not only must he be strict, but he must also give them some benefits. Only then would the servants be more loyal and work harder. Since Yang Wu had decided to join the army and planned to return to Monarch City as a king, he had to make plans for himself now. Gathering the Death Legion was only his first step. He had to use the power in his hands to change the way those people in the army viewed him. Not only was he talented, but he could also contribute to the majority of the army. No one would be able to stop his footsteps. In the end, the Rose of Death gave Yang Wu an idea. That was to let him take the healing pills to the challenge stage to trade. The challenge stage held a grand event, and there would definitely be many people injured during the challenge period. There would definitely be a shortage of healing pills. At that time, he wouldn't have to worry about not being able to trade the pills. At that time, he would be able to make a name for himself. However, the Rose of Death advised him not to reveal his identity as a pill refiner. It would be best to find someone to sell the pills. He didn't have to show himself, and just let a mysterious person appear. At that time, he would be able to influence the higher-ups' judgment of the Death Legion. Perhaps he could achieve the effect he wanted. Yang Wu felt that the Rose of Death's suggestion was good. He put away the mysterious spirit stones and medicinal ingredients and hurriedly left. The Rose of Death looked at the departing Yang Wu and frowned slightly. She muttered in her heart, "That daring guy left just like that?" She didn't know why, but her heart felt empty. She felt an inexplicable irritation. She felt that Yang Wu didn't tease her and seemed to be dissatisfied. If Yang Wu knew that she felt this way, he would definitely climb up the pole. Right now, he had more important things to do. He would go back and discuss the countermeasures with Lu Ji. Lu Ji had more ideas than he did. Perhaps he would have a perfect plan. After Yang Wu returned to his tent, he briefly recounted his conversation with the Rose of Death about refining pills. Lu Ji was naturally very surprised And he didn't believe that Yang Wu was a real alchemist, but he believed that Yang Wu definitely had a way to take out a large number of medicinal pills, so they came up with a plan together. After the two of them finished their discussion, Yang Wu left in a hurry. This time, he was on a look for Little Hay. During this period of time, Little Hay had been appearing and disappearing mysteriously. No one knew what it was doing. Yang Wu knew what Little Hay was capable of. He was not afraid that something would happen to it, but he was afraid that he would not be able to find it. Fortunately, they had a telepathic connection. As long as Yang Wu wanted to find Little Hay, she would always be able to sense it and appear in front of him as quickly as possible. Not long after, Little Hay scurried out from a corner and asked, "Why are you in such a hurry to find this celestial emperor?" Several months had passed since Yang Wu rescued Little Hay. It was still the same, not growing at all. However, Yang Wu knew that its abilities were getting stronger and stronger. It was definitely different from before. "Little Hay, quickly help me refine a batch of healing pills of slightly better quality," Yang Wu said to Little Hay. "Didn't I just refine some for you a while ago? What's more, you don't really need them. Why do you need them now?" Little Hay asked in confusion. "It's like this." Yang Wu repeated what he had said to the Rose of Death and Lu Ji. He felt that his mouth was dry from all the talking, so he took out a jug of wine and drank by himself. "Brat, you want this celestial emperor to work for you for free? This celestial emperor doesn't have that kind of free time." Little Hay refused on the spot. "Little Hay, don't be like this. I'm doing this for your own good. What's more, you don't want me to stay in this place all the time, right? Once I'm done here, I'll take you to other places and see a more exciting world," Yang Wu said. "What hasn't this celestial emperor seen before? Don't try to trick me," Little Hay said as she rolled her eyes. "Don't, Little Hay. You're handsome and mighty. You're like a divine dog. Refining a few ordinary pills is a piece of cake. Just help me with this," Yang Wu begged. Little Hay hesitated for a moment before saying, "Woof, woof. It's not like this celestial emperor can't help you. However, I can't help you every day. Hurry up and learn the art of alchemy. You can do it yourself in the future." "There's not enough time," Yang Wu said gloomily. "There's plenty of time. I'll help you refine a batch for you to use first. Then, you can learn it well. When this batch is finished, if you still haven't learned the art of alchemy, then don't blame this celestial emperor for not helping you in the future," Little Hay said. Yang Wu said again, "The key is that I cultivate profound water qi. There's no way for me to force out flames. How am I supposed to refine pills? The heart governs fire, the liver governs wood, the spleen governs earth, the lungs governs metal, and the kidneys governs water. The fact that you cultivate profound water qi proves that your kidneys are not bad. For a man, having a good kidney is truly good. However, the other four organs cannot be ignored, especially if you want to become an alchemist. You must cultivate your heart. Right now, the first thing you need to do is cultivate your heart. Then, you will have the potential to become an alchemist," Little Hay explained clearly and logically. "How do I cultivate this heart fire?" Yang Wu was confused. "Forget it. I can't be bothered to explain it to you. I'll teach you the introductory chapter of alchemy. You'll naturally understand," Little Hay responded. A ray of light shot out from between its eyebrows and landed directly between Yang Wu's eyebrows. Yang Wu immediately received a piece of obscure information. This information included the basic techniques of alchemy and the entry requirements of alchemy. Among them was the heart fire. The heart was an important organ in the human body. It was the source of life. It provided the most important blood and vitality for the growth of all the muscles in the human body. The heart was of the fire attribute. Not only did it require the gathering of power, it also required the fusion of the origin blood and power. When the two became one, the energy that was sent over belonged to the heart fire. The heart fire was a kind of potential fire seed in the body. It was impossible for a mortal to cultivate it. Only a rare, innate martial body could cultivate it successfully. Even the alchemists that the outside world knew of only used the profound fire, which was a fire seed condensed from profound qi. Compared to the heart fire, the two were fundamentally different. The profound fire needed to be supported and controlled by strength. It was difficult to control the fire well, and its firepower was only comparable to that of an ordinary fire. The heart fire was different. It was born from a heart and belonged to a part of the human body. It could be controlled as one wished and could evolve as one's strength increased. In the future, it could become a sacred heart fire or even an immortal fire seed. Whether Yang Wu could cultivate the heart fire or not was still unknown, because this depended on his true physique and talent. In addition, the basics of alchemy still required one to be extremely familiar with all kinds of medicinal herbs and the combination of various pill formulas. One could not casually concoct them. If one did not succeed in refining the pill, it was possible that one would refine a pot of poison. Yang Wu received a large amount of information and felt a little dizzy. Fortunately, the divine court Dao flower swayed and quickly absorbed the information on its petals. This information automatically turned into Yang Wu's memory, so he completely accepted it and could recall it at any time. In other words, he had already remembered all the information that little He had sent over. This was the extraordinary part of the divine court Dao flower. Little He, the heart fire belongs to the human body's talent of the heart. Does that mean that the other 4 organs have different talents? Yang Wu asked. Of course, the human body has different talents. However, what each person unlocks is different. Some unlocked a bloodline talent, some unlocked a spiritual sense talent, some unlocked a strength talent. Of course, there are also many martial bodies that have unlocked multiple talents at the same time. Each of the 5 organs has its own talents, and they're the most difficult to unlock. They can only be awakened by the immortal martial body. Therefore, whether or not you can unlock the heart fire also means that your cultivation potential is not strong enough, Little He explained seriously. After hearing Little He's explanation, Yang Wu's face became as bright as a blooming flower. Haha, that's great. Little He thought that Yang Wu was being arrogant, so she couldn't help but pour cold water on him. What are you laughing about? With your talent, it's too difficult to unlock the potential of the 5 organs. It's already amazing if you can cultivate the most basic heart fire seed. Yang Wu smiled proudly. I really did unlock a talent of the 5 organs. Woof woof, that's impossible, Little He said in disbelief. Then I'll let you experience the innate talent of my kidney, hidden blade wings. After Yang Wu made a grand announcement, he summoned the pair of small wings of his kidney. It had been a few days since the last time he summoned them. He could already summon them again. Little He stared at the hidden blade wings that Yang Wu summoned. Her canine eyes were jumping with excitement. She said excitedly, "You're really not bad, kid. You actually managed to awaken such a pair of little toys so early." Do you believe me now? This captain's talent is truly outstanding, unparalleled in this world, Yang Wu said proudly. Don't be in such a rush to praise yourself. Even though it's a good thing, it's not that easy to use. It's using up the power of your kidneys. If a man's kidneys aren't good, he won't be able to do well in certain areas in the future, Little He said with a sly smile. Yang Wu was not an idiot. He immediately knew what Little He was referring to. His face immediately fell. He said gloomily, "Doesn't that mean that I can't use it easily? In fact, I can't use it at all?" That's not necessarily the case. As long as your kidneys are strong, it can still unleash shocking power. It can even bring you flying in advance. Then hurry up and teach me. How can my kidneys be better? If you want your kidneys to be better, you naturally have to eat more supplements. For example, spirit ginseng, spirit mushroom, wild wolfberry, and all kinds of spirit demon whips. Little He listed out a bunch of supplements. Yang Wu suddenly felt a headache coming on. He held his forehead and said, "With this supplement method, I'm afraid that I won't be able to maintain my virginity. About what should I do?" Chapter 178. Yang Wu had extorted a lot of medicinal herbs from the barbarian tribe, and he also had some from the Rose of Death. Little He had also collected a lot of medicinal herbs, so it was not difficult for him to refine some healing pills. However, Little He said that if he wanted to do something, he might as well do something big. There was no profit to be gained by just refining healing pills. He could refine some low-level pills that could help cultivators improve. That's right, low-level pills. To Little He, even king-grade pills were low-level pills, let alone pills below king grade. When Yang Wu heard that little He could actually be so heaven-defying, he became even more excited. He also wanted little He to refine a few pills that could increase his strength. Wouldn't that save him a lot of time in cultivation? Little He immediately scolded him. This was a useless action. Only by relying on oneself to improve one's cultivation level step by step would one be able to go further and achieve greater achievements in the future. If one relied on pills to accumulate their cultivation level, their foundation would not be solid, and their future achievements would be limited. When Yang Wu heard Little He's words, he dismissed the idea. In the end, he and Little He decided on 3 types of pills. One was an ordinary healing pill, one was a chi-boosting pill, and the last was a meridian-opening pill. The healing pill was naturally a pill for treating injuries, and the quality of the pills refined by Little He was many times better than those refined by other pill refiners. The chi-boosting pill was a pill that could increase a cultivator's xian qi. It could directly increase a cultivator's cultivation level by 1 or 2 levels. This was determined by how much the cultivator absorbed, and it could also increase a cultivator's strength. The meridian-opening pill was very obvious. It could directly increase a cultivator's strength to the general realm. In addition, it could also help a cultivator in the general realm to open their meridians and increase their cultivation level. To Little He, these 3 types of pills were all low-level pills. To the outside world, the healing pill and chi-boosting pill were ordinary pills, while the meridian-opening pill was a spirit pill. Little He did what it said. It followed Yang Wu back to his tent and prepared to refine pills inside. If it was outside, it would be disturbed by others. When Lu Ji saw the Little He dog lying on Yang Wu's shoulder, he asked in surprise, Vice Commander, where did you get this Little He dog? It's quite cute. Woof! Little He barked when it saw Lu Ji. Its eyes were filled with an extremely strong interest, just like when it first saw Lil Man. Little He was Little He's body. Little He was too small and looked too harmless. Lu Ji was not afraid. Instead, he raised his hand to hug Little He. Unexpectedly, Little He bit Lu Ji's arm. I've been bitten by a dog. I'm done for. Will I get rabies? Vice Captain, please save me. Lu Ji screamed. His face was as white as a sheet, and he looked like he was about to cry. As expected of an innate yin-yang body. Unfortunately, there is a flaw. Little He licked its lips and muttered. Lu Ji naturally cannot hear it. Only Yang Wu could hear it clearly. Yang Wu carried Little He back and said to Lu Ji, don't be nervous. Little He is a spirit dog. It saw how beautiful you are and how you look like a female, so it ran over to get close to you. It doesn't have any ill intentions and won't let you get rabies. Don't worry. Little He was so angry that it rolled around on the ground. To Lu Ji, it seemed like it was responding to Yang Wu's words. Lu Ji said angrily, Is it my fault that I'm handsome? I'd rather be a little uglier. I don't want this to continue. Even dogs like me now. It's so annoying. Indeed, it's not your fault that you're handsome. Why don't I make a few cuts on your face? That way, you'll look more manly and become a little uglier. I believe that you won't have to worry about this anymore, Yang Wu said faintly. Flames of jealousy were about to erupt from his eyes. It was one thing to be handsome, but he actually had an innate yin-yang body. This was an innate martial cultivation body. Just like Shou Ho, his future was limitless. Yang Wu hated that he did not have such a life. No, I'm afraid of pain. It's better that I stay handsome like this. Lu Ji waved his hands and said. Immediately after, he ran out of Yang Wu's tent in a sorry state. He was afraid that Yang Wu would really make 2 cuts on his face if he was any slower. Yang Wu shook his head in exasperation. He turned to Little He and asked, He really does have an innate yin-yang body. Could it be that I'm mistaken? How could I be mistaken? He has an innate yin-yang body of a man and an innate yin-qi of a woman. The yin and yang qi of each of his 5 internal organs account for half of each. It's a pity that his innate yin-qi is more abundant, resulting in an imbalance between yin and yang. He won't live past 30 years of age, Little He said. Can he still be saved? Yang Wu couldn't help but ask. Of course he can be saved. However, It'll depend on luck, Little Hay replied. If he can be saved, then save him. Yang Wu felt that Lu Ji was not bad. Jealousy was jealousy, but he still did not want to see Lu Ji die. There's no rush. We have plenty of time. Let's take care of the things at hand first, Little Hay said calmly. Immediately after, it quickly set up an array formation in the tent. It isolated the place from the outside world to prevent any commotion from occurring during the alchemy process. If any medicinal fragrance wafted out, it would alarm others. After Little Hay used the Shin Spirit Stone to set up the array formation, all the auras in the tent were completely isolated. Meanwhile, Yang Wu had Cheap Wretch, who had been standing guard outside, raise his guard. He did not allow anyone to come near. He also instructed the guards that no one was to disturb them before he came out. Yang Wu watched Little Hay from his side. Moreover, he also had the foundational alchemy book, so he was even more familiar with Little Hay's alchemy methods. There were only 3 steps to alchemy. The first step was to extract the essence of the medicinal herbs. The second step was to condense the medicinal pills. The last step was to cool down and complete the medicinal pills. Each step required the coordination of flames. The more meticulous each step was, the higher the quality of the medicinal pills that were condensed. The number of pills that could be refined would also be greater. Otherwise, the effects would be poor, and the pills might not even be able to be condensed. Little Hay used her divine sense to control the alchemy process. She had already reached a realm where she could control objects with her divine sense. She was extremely fast and dazzling. From time to time, she would spit out tricolored flames from her mouth. The tricolored flames burned the medicinal cauldron red and condensed the medicinal power even more. Little Hay could even multitask. She explained to Yang Wu the important points to take note of in alchemy. Now that your divine court Dao flower has bloomed, you can also use your divine sense to control the medicinal herbs like me. However, there's one thing you must take note of. After you extract the essence of a medicinal herb, you must protect it well. Otherwise, it will be evaporated by the heat. Then, the loss will outweigh the gain. Yang Wu listened with great interest. He imprinted every word that Little Hay said into his divine court Dao flower, so that when he embarked on the path of alchemy in the future, he would not take any detours. Little Hay's alchemy speed was much faster than before. A cauldron of healing pills was completed in less than 15 minutes. If other alchemists were to see this, they would not believe that this was real. Their alchemy process was calculated in days. Moreover, the failure rate was very high. A cauldron of healing pills would take at least half a day. This was under the condition that they did not fail. If they failed, not only would they consume materials, but they would also waste time. When the lid of the cauldron was opened, dozens of healing pills appeared in front of them. They were quite round and had a strong medicinal fragrance. It was clear that they were of extraordinary quality. Only a few dozen pills have been produced. This is too bad, Little Hay complained to herself. Then, she continued on to the next cauldron. If other alchemists heard this, they would definitely be so ashamed that they would bang their heads against the wall and die. Even if it was the most ordinary healing pills, they would be overjoyed if they could refine 1 or 2 pills at a time. Only great masters could refine around 5 pills at a time. However, Little Hay was able to refine dozens of high-quality pills at a time. This meant that she had used almost all of the medicinal essence to the extreme and did not waste much. This was far beyond the great master level. Even great masters could not compare to her. Perhaps she was comparable to the legendary saint alchemists. Yang Wu did not know this, but he also felt that Little Hay was very impressive. Yang Wu watched Little Hay continuously refine 3 cauldrons of pills. After that, he also wanted to refine pills at the same time. However, he did not even have a fire. How could he refine pills? Thus, he no longer paid attention to Little Hay. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate his heart fire. Heart fire was born from the heart. Not only did it require the support of Xian Qi, but it also required the support of a bloodline source. Yang Wu channeled the power of his peach core, Dantian, and poured it into his heart. His heart beat slightly faster, but there was no sign that it would be able to produce heart fire. Thus, he gathered his bloodline again and combined his blood essence. Unfortunately, there was still not much change. He repeatedly channeled his Xian Qi into his blood essence. It was like the ancient method of drilling wood to make fire. He hoped that he would be able to produce a spark. Unfortunately, it was still not possible. Could it be that I really don't have the ability to activate heart fire? Yang Wu thought to himself gloomily. He became more and more irritated. His heart was being tormented by him, and he almost fainted from the pain. Little He did not have the time to pay attention to Yang Wu. It was still focused on refining pills. When its power was exhausted, it would refine some medicinal herbs inside its body to replenish its energy. At the same time, it could also devour external energy to recover. It was much stronger than before. A day and a night passed, and Little He directly collapsed from exhaustion. There were 3 piles of alchemical pills beside it. These 3 piles of alchemical pills were of different sizes. Healing pills were the most abundant, and there were about 1,000 of them. Chi-boosting pills were slightly fewer, and there were only about 300 of them. As for meridian-opening pills, there were the least, and there were about 100 of them. To any alchemist, completing this number of pills in a single day and night could be considered a miracle. Unfortunately, Little He was not satisfied at all. This kind of low-level alchemical pill was nothing more than trash to it. There was no point in refining as many alchemical pills as possible. At least it'll be enough for that brat for a while. Little He sighed softly. At this moment, it finally turned to look at Yang Wu. It discovered that Yang Wu had already fainted on the ground while clutching his chest. His whole body was frighteningly red, as if there was some kind of terrifying heat in his body that wanted to burn him alive. This brat is really giving it his all. However, it's a little naive to think that he can activate heart fire like this. Little He murmured to itself. It then lay down to sleep, completely ignoring Yang Wu's life and death. At this moment, Yang Wu's chest suddenly burst into flames. Chapter 179. The foundation of alchemy that Little He had passed on to Yang Wu mentioned the heart fire and also talked about some key points of the formation of the heart fire. However, not everyone could cultivate the heart fire. It had to depend on one's talent and physique. The heart fire was a kind of awakened potential talent. There was no way to cultivate it. It could only be awakened. Yang Wu used the most primitive method. He used his qi and blood to forcefully activate the heart fire. Under the repeated collisions, he only felt that his heart was about to explode. He could only pour his qi in slowly, but he directly mobilized it to collide with his heart. It also boiled the blood in his heart and blood vessels. Under the effect of the 2 forces, it would be strange if his heart was not damaged. Fortunately, Yang Wu's physique was extraordinary. Under the repeated collisions, he could still withstand it. However, if this continued, his heart would shatter sooner or later. However, Yang Wu was really stubborn. He insisted on cultivating the heart fire and looked like he would not give up. Therefore, he awakened the power of his blood. The boiling power of his blood several times stronger collided with his qi, causing his entire body to heat up. The blood vessels in his heart were torn, and the pain was so painful that he wanted to die. He bled from his 7 orifices and kept screaming. The power in his heart was really about to reach its limit and could explode at any time. He wanted to suppress it, but unfortunately, he found that he could not. This was because the boiling of his blood vessels had already gone out of his control. It was continuously supplying blood to his heart at full speed, causing his heart to constantly beat and expand to almost double its original size. This was absolutely abnormal. At the same time, the qi was like a flood or a fierce beast. As long as it was hit lightly, under the effect of the 2 forces, it would be strange if his heart did not explode. At this most critical moment, the channel breaking, which was in charge of the blood vessels, played a role. It was originally connected to the blood vessels of the divine court. It was a strange channel that connected the blood vessels of the entire body. It was like a big bridge that directly triggered the divine court Tao flower. A wave of spiritual power accompanied the channel breaking and directly poured into the heart area. At this moment, the qi also arrived again. Bang! all the blood vessels of the entire body, the primordial chi of the peach core dantian, and the spiritual power of the divine court Tao flower. The three forces gathered in the heart, instantly creating a dazzling spark. Yang Wu only felt that his heart was being burned by a ball of fire. It was so painful that he rolled and screamed again. His voice sounded like a pig being slaughtered. It was unbearable to hear it. Fortunately, Little Hay had already isolated the tent. Otherwise, it would definitely have alerted the people outside. Little Hay, she murmured. This Little Hay, this kid really, she murmured. This brat, this. Although Little Hay had seen a lot of people, this was the first time she had seen someone who could directly condense the heart fire as soon as they started cultivating. Even if it was a peerless martial body, it still needed an opportunity and guidance to slowly condense the heart fire. She felt that she could no longer look at Yang Wu with the eyes of a normal person. This brat was a freak. Little Hay walked around Yang Wu. She looked at Yang Wu, who was constantly tossing and turning. She had no intention of helping him. She only stared at the faintly discernible ball of blue flame in his heart. Her tongue flickered in and out repeatedly. She looked like she really wanted to pounce over and devour that ball of flame. Woof woof. As expected of my master in this life. This is simply heaven-defying. He actually condensed such a rare seed of heart fire. It is only a matter of time before it becomes a peerless, immortal flame. Little Hay murmured to herself with incomparable excitement. Now, Yang Wu was in a state of unconsciousness. He was in so much pain that he could not wake up. At the same time, it was more like he was in a sea of blue flames. This sea of flames was like a wave of water that kept jumping. It could burn the sea and evaporate the sky. Its terrifying power was really unstoppable. It grew under the sea and accumulated a lot of cold power. After reaching a state of inversion, it suddenly rose to the state of extreme yang. From then on, it erupted into a kind of terrifying fire called extreme earth fire. It also had a very pleasant name, Blue Enchantress. It was because it was like a blue demonic flower. It was so beautiful and moving. It was like a dancing enchantress, but also had an incomparably terrifying power. The reason why Yang Wu was able to condense this kind of heart fire was naturally related to his physique. He cultivated the supreme 9 mysteries formula, which was a kind of formula with a yin attribute. He needed to collect 9 different kinds of mysterious essence qi to master it. The mysterious qi he absorbed was mainly water mysterious qi. After 2 extreme tempering, he was able to awaken the talent of his kidney when he broke through to the general realm. This also further proved that he was more suitable to cultivate the power of water. However, the blue bloodline in his bloodline was obviously more of a fire attribute. Only then could he boil his bloodline and increase his fighting spirit and combat strength. His heart was of a fire attribute. This was the reason why he created the heart fire. However, in order to form a peerless flame like the Blue Enchantress, it was inseparable from the peach core dantian, the blue blood, and the divine court Tao flower. The peach core dantian was originally the core of the immortal peach. It contained the immortal qi of longevity and could nurture extraordinary mysterious essence qi. The blue blood in his bloodline had an extraordinary origin and was definitely a high-level mutated bloodline. As for the divine court Tao flower, it was needless to say. Its blooming represented an incomparably majestic spiritual power. Under the impact of these 3 extraordinary powers, the Blue Enchantress was condensed. Now, Yang Wu was being baptized by the Blue Enchantress. The Blue Enchantress was created by Yang Wu. However, it was like a newborn child that needed to find the comfort and fullness of breast milk. Right now, it was familiarizing itself with every part of Yang Wu's body, seeking comfort and fullness from him. Just like that, Yang Wu's body seemed to have been burned by the Blue Enchantress. His skin, flesh, meridians, internal organs, and bones were all swept by the Blue Enchantress. Many impurities were burned away. These impurities were useless in the body. They were even necrotic and had no vitality. This was another extreme tempering. It was many times more effective than Little Hay's method of soaking in medicinal herbs. Yang Wu's physique was imperceptibly forged into a peerless martial body. It was spotless and absolutely perfect. It would be incomparably magnanimous on the path of cultivation. Woof, woof, I can't take it anymore. This celestial emperor has cultivated for countless years and has been tempered by all kinds of immortal items. I even soaked in dragon blood before I reached this step. However, this brat obtained such a heaven-defying opportunity right after condensing the heart fire. It really makes me jealous. Spotless, the true spotless immortal physique. This step has surpassed the dreams of many peerless experts to become immortals. Little Hay shouted as it rolled on the ground beside Yang Wu. It couldn't wait to replace Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't know how much time had passed. He only knew that his body was in a state of constant burning. It was as if he was going to be burned to a crisp. In the end, these blue flames gradually disappeared and converged at his heart. Only then did he wake up from his dream. He slowly opened his eyes and saw Little Hay lying on his chest, sticking out its little tongue to lick his lips. He was so frightened that he immediately jumped up and shouted, "Little Hay, don't you dare steal my first kiss again." Little Hay jumped to the side and said with disdain, "Who wants to steal your first kiss? How disgusting. Then what were you trying to do just now?" Yang Wu said loudly, "I saw that you didn't wake up, so I wanted to bite you awake. But why did you aim for my mouth? Little brat, I'm warning you. You can insult my body, but you can't insult my character. No, it's dog character. I have no interest in men." Little Hay spat out fiercely. Then it lay down on the side and angrily went to sleep. It really wasn't aiming for Yang Wu's mouth. Instead, it was aiming for Yang Wu's heart. It was trying to see if it could suck out a bit of blue Yao Ji from Yang Wu's heart to strengthen its true samadhi flames. In the end, the blue Yao Ji really couldn't take it and directly retreated back into Yang Wu's heart. Yang Wu also woke up at this moment, so this misunderstanding occurred. Yang Wu wanted to continue arguing with Little Hay, but he discovered that his entire body had become naked. He was so frightened that he shouted, "Where are my clothes?" Luckily, there's no woman here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep my chastity. He looked around and discovered that there was indeed no one else in the room. Only then did he feel a bit more at ease. He looked as if he was afraid that someone would rape him. Little Hay opened its eyes slightly and said with disdain, "Women won't even be interested in your body." Yang Wu couldn't be bothered to argue with Little Hay. He looked to the side and discovered that there were no clothes. It was as if the set of clothes he was wearing before had disappeared into thin air. This made him extremely depressed. Just as he took out a set of clothes from the Qian Kuan space and put it on, he discovered that his skin had become extremely glossy. Moreover, it seemed to have become even tougher. This was a very obvious change. Could it be? Yang Wu guessed with an extremely excited expression. He didn't dare to think further. Instead, he chose to look into his heart. Very soon, he saw that there was actually a blue flame that was the size of a thumb jumping continuously in his heart. It kept flickering and extinguishing. It was like a little fairy dancing. It was extremely moving. As expected, I've really condensed the heart fire, huh? Yang Wu couldn't suppress the joy in his heart. He threw his head back and laughed wildly. Condensing the heart fire meant that he was qualified to refine pills and weapons. Moreover, Little Hay had also said that it wasn't easy to unlock the potential of one's internal organs. However, he had done it. At the very least, his talent was indisputable. He didn't know that his current physique was more than indisputable. It was practically heaven-defying. At the same time, Yang Wu also discovered that his cultivation level had suddenly soared to the high-level general realm. The Xianqi in his dantian was more than 10 times denser. Moreover, it had transformed a lot of Xianqi liquid, slowly forming a small pool of water that was extremely pure and holy. More than half of his 720 acupoints had been transformed into liquid, and many nameless meridians had been torn apart and connected. As the saying went, 8 meridians were connected and 100 meridians were connected. His 8 extraordinary meridians had been connected. As for the other small meridians, nameless meridians, and hidden meridians, they would all be connected one by one. These were all standards for strengthening one's martial body. When all his acupoints have been transformed into liquid, all his meridians have been connected, and the Xian-Chi in his dantian was like a sea, it would be the time for him to enter the earth-sea realm and become a king. Don't make a fuss here. Hurry up and learn alchemy, little Hay said snappily. Chapter 180. Yang Wu didn't enter the state of learning alchemy like little Hay had said. Instead, he went out to find Lu Ji. Little Hay had refined so many pills that he needed to sell them. It was time to implement his plan. Before this, Yang Wu and Lu Ji had already discussed what to do. Yang Wu didn't give Lu Ji a lot of pills at once. He only gave him 1/5 and called Li Dizue Deng Shuangmao, Huang Mo Gai, and his wife to bring some people to do these things together. After Lu Ji received the pills, he finally believed that Yang Wu might really be an alchemist. He worshipped Yang Wu from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, he decided to follow Yang Wu's footsteps closely. Now, the army's challenge platform was filled with a hubbub of voices and shouts. Every challenge platform had many soldiers watching, cheering for their brothers and comrades. Today was the third day of the challenge, and more than 1,000 people had already been defeated. All of these people were injured. Only a few people were uninjured because they encountered opponents they couldn't fight and surrendered in advance. At the same time, dozens of people had died in battle. From this, it could be seen that although the challenge platform clearly stated that no one was allowed to kill, swords and sabers had no eyes. Who could control so precisely and not injure people? Those who died were fine, but what about those who were injured? They were all experts in the army. Some of them had accumulated merits and could exchange them for healing pills. However, there were many people who did not have any healing pills. Half a month ago, the supply of healing pills in the warehouse had been completely exhausted. Therefore, many of the injured soldiers could only be bandaged by their companions with simple medicinal herbs. It didn't matter if their injuries were light, but for those who were seriously injured, ordinary medicinal herbs couldn't help at all. If this dragged on, only death would await them. It was also at this juncture that Lu Ji brought the members of the Death Legion here to promote healing pills. Superior grade healing pill, only 200 merit points. Supply is limited, first come, first served. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Lu Ji was personally promoting the healing pill. He sounded like a professional. In this noisy place, his voice could not travel out at all, which made him a little sad. However, who was Lu Ji? He was a man who was more beautiful than a woman. No matter where he stood, he would become a focus of everyone's mind. When the people next to him saw Lu Ji, they were fascinated by him. This cross-dressing girl looks unfamiliar. Which military camp is she from? She's so beautiful. What a beautiful woman. It's a pity that her chest is a little flat. However, how can a flat chest conquer the world? She's my type. Yeah, she's blushing too. How cute. May I ask for your name, and do you have a partner? Only I, Tyrant Bear, can protect such a woman. Get out of my way. When the people around him noticed Lu Ji's appearance, he was even more charming than he was during the challenge. The soldiers surrounded him one by one, their eyes shining. If it weren't for Li Daze, Deng Shuangmao, and the others by Lu Ji's side, he would have been swallowed alive by these men. It had to be said that Lu Ji's appearance was too devilish. This was not the first time Lu Ji had encountered such a situation. He knew that he could not avoid being mistaken for a woman. He simply went with the flow and began to promote the healing pills in his hands. 200 merit points for a healing pill. This price was the same as the military's. It was neither raised nor deliberately lowered. Many people wanted to take out their merit points to trade with Lu Ji for his sake. However, at this time, Lu Ji rolled his eyes and said, "The supply is limited. Give priority to the warriors who participated in the challenge." The soldiers who did not participate in the challenge were happy to see Lu Ji like this. In any case, their merit points were limited. They were somewhat reluctant to take out their merit points to trade for healing pills. At this moment, one of the challengers on one of the battle platforms was defeated and severely injured. "Big brother, how are you? Don't die." The loser was surrounded by several soldiers and cried out in alarm. Who has a healing pill on them? Hurry and give it to Big Brother. He's about to die. I don't have any. The transactions in the back warehouse have already been completed. I don't have any either. They were about to go crazy. They watched as their brother coughed up blood again and again. His breathing was about to stop, but there was nothing they could do. They felt as if their hearts were being cut by a knife. Someone is trading healing pills over there, someone beside them reminded them. Where, we want to trade. The soldiers all said excitedly, under the guidance of others. They quickly carried the injured over to Lu Ji and shouted, Miss, we want to trade healing pills. Lu Ji looked at the injured and immediately replied, 200 merit points for one. Okay. The soldiers all responded. One of them then paid 200 merit points to Lu Ji. Lu Ji immediately gave them a healing pill. Just as one of the soldiers was about to feed the injured, his companion stopped him and said, Wait, there's something strange about this healing pill. Lu Ji could not help but panic. Is there a problem with the vice commander's pill? He did not know whether a pill was good or bad. If Yang Wu told him to sell it, he would sell it. Now that he had just sold one pill, if there was a problem, then it would be difficult to continue. The soldier who had just stopped him snatched the healing pill and carefully examined it. He then raised his head to look at Lu Ji and asked, Is this really a healing pill? Why is it different from what we usually see? What's different? Lu Ji pretended to be calm. In any case, he had so many people by his side protecting him, so the other party should not be able to do anything to him. At worst, he would just return the merit points. Normally, our healing pills would not be so round, and they would not be so solid. The medicinal smell would also not be so fragrant. This is clearly a fake healing pill, the soldier concluded. This time, Lu Ji was scared witless. However, he still gritted his teeth and said, What makes you think it's fake? With such a strong medicinal smell, it's clearly a high-grade healing pill. The more fake something is, the more realistic the illusion it creates. This pill is so round and shiny. It must have been polished and processed. You actually dare to cheat us? Are you tired of living? The soldier glared at Lu Ji and shouted. He did not care how handsome Lu Ji was. Right now, he was very anxious. His brother was about to die, but the other party actually used fake medicine to cheat him. He wanted to beat Lu Ji up, but when he saw the people beside Lu Ji, he did not dare to make a move. Chicken Feather, Big Brother is about to die, the person beside him said to the soldier. Lu Ji was quick-witted and said, In any case, he's about to die. Feed him the pill. If it doesn't have any effect, it won't be too late for us to argue. The soldier called Chicken Feather was still hesitating, but the person beside him could not help but say, He's right. A dead horse should be treated as a living horse. Who knows, there might be a glimmer of hope. The companion opposite Chicken Feather snatched the healing pill from his hand and then fed it to the injured person. At this time, everyone looked closely at the injured person, waiting for a miracle to happen. Lu Ji's palms were sweating. He was more nervous than anyone else. He had come with the heavy responsibility that Yang Wu had given him. Whether it would work or not depended on now. Li Pei whispered to Lu Ji, Advisor Lu, let's go. The healing pill is not a life-saving pill. His injuries are very serious. Even if the healing pill is effective, it might not be able to save him. After Lu Ji heard this, he was so scared that he almost fell down. If he left, the mission that Yang Wu had given him would be finished. He gritted his teeth and said, Wait first. Pooh! Suddenly, the injured person spat out a mouthful of blood. It seemed that his injuries were even more serious. I knew this was fake medicine. It's useless. I'm going to kill you. The soldier called Chicken Feather clenched his fists and angrily glared at Lu Ji. At this time, several of his companions were angry. They looked at Lu Ji with sadness and anger, preparing to attack Lu Ji together. Li Dazue pulled Lu Ji back and stood in front of Lu Ji and said, This is only an ordinary healing pill. It can treat ordinary internal injuries. Your brother's injuries are too serious. It's normal that he can't be saved. Don't mess around. I don't care. In any case, it was you who killed my brother. Today, even if I have to sacrifice my life, I'll kill you liars. Everyone, Let's kill them together." Chicken Feather shouted righteously. Just as they were about to attack, the injured person called out, "Stop, stop. I'm much better." His words immediately dispelled all the tension in the air. His brothers once again surrounded him and asked him a lot of questions. "You've wronged me. This healing pill can be called a spirit pill. The effect is very good. I felt like I was going to die. After taking this spirit pill, I felt like I was going to live," the injured person said with a weak voice. At this time, his brothers all showed a guilty expression. Chicken Feather even bowed to Lu Ji and apologized. "I'm sorry, miss. We've wronged you. If you want to beat or punish us, do as you wish." At this time, Lu Ji's heart that was in his throat calmed down. He waved his hand and said, "Forget it. As long as he's fine, it's fine. This also proves that my healing pill is not wrong. If anyone needs it, they can come and trade with me. The quantity is limited." With a living example, everyone knew that this healing pill was not ordinary. Immediately, someone opened their mouth to trade. "Give me one. It's better to be prepared." Not bad. That guy was about to die, but this healing pill could actually save him. It seems like it really is a high-quality healing pill. 200 contribution points isn't expensive. I'll buy it. That's right. Give me 2. I still want to participate in the competition. Give me 5. At this time, more and more people surrounded Lu Ji. Everyone wanted to rush to trade for this healing pill. The reason was that the healing pill's effect was too good. They couldn't sit still. Even if they couldn't use it right now, it was still good to have it prepared. Lu Ji also didn't think that it would cause such a sensation so quickly. He immediately raised the price to 300 contribution points. However, the number of people still didn't decrease. In the end, he raised the price to 500 contribution points. Only then did the crowd calm down. However, those who had failed in the competition still didn't hesitate to trade for the healing pill. After Lu Ji finished with the 100 healing pills, he took advantage of the situation to push out the chi-boosting pill. This caused the surrounding area to explode into chaos. Chapter 181. The healing elixir had a strong effect. After several injured people took it on the spot, it produced an immediate effect. Lu Ji took advantage of the situation to sell the chi-boosting elixir. The price of this elixir was even higher. The chi-boosting elixir could help soldiers directly advance to the next realm. It could also increase the combat power of people at the general level. For many soldiers who wanted to advance further, it was a dream elixir. They were willing to spend a little more merit points. Lu Ji only took out 20 chi-boosting elixirs. Each elixir was worth at least 1,000 merit points. Such a price was equivalent to the price of killing 2 barbarian generals. The soldiers of the Death Legion would only get 100 to 200 merit points for killing a barbarian general. The soldiers of the other barracks would get 2 to 3 times more merit points than the soldiers of the Death Legion. Such a gap was very unfair. However, this was the rules set by the big shots in the army. No one could change it. At present, Lu Ji's selling of the chi-boosting elixir at 1,000 merit points was not considered expensive. In the end, the price of the chi-boosting elixir was raised to 2,000 merit points. These spendthrifts naturally came from the challengers. They all wanted to compete for a good ranking. Even if they could not become major generals or young marshals, they could still get more merit points if they won one more round. It would also be good for their reputation, and it would be easy for them to attract the attention of the higher-ups. After the chi-boosting elixirs were sold out, he sold the acupoint breaking elixir. This time, everyone went crazy. They had been in the army for many years, but it did not mean that they were ignorant about elixirs. Many of them were still knowledgeable. The acupoint breaking elixir was a spirit elixir. It was a priceless elixir outside. However, someone in the army actually sold it. The soldiers went crazy and wanted to buy it. Lu Ji had become much more experienced after the previous 2 kinds of elixirs. He directly priced the acupoint breaking elixir at 5,000 merit points. The highest bidder would get it. This price was considered a very large number for martial artists in the general realm. However, for them, a single elixir that could directly advance to the next realm was even more precious. This was an elixir that was not available in the army. Especially for the challengers, a single elixir that could allow them to advance to the next realm would greatly change the situation. However, there were still people who raised their doubts. How could such a spirit pill be traded here? It must be a scam. Unfortunately, this didn't stop everyone's desire to buy them. There were only 5 acupoint breaking pills, and once they were sold out, there would be none left. The meridian breaking pill had shocked too many people. Some of the vice commanders and Kiliarchs couldn't help but come over to bid. Now, they didn't care who Luigi was. As long as the pills were real and could increase their cultivation level, it was right. No matter where they were, increasing their strength was the way to go. The first meridian opening pill was snatched by an old Chiliarch for 10,000 merit points. He consumed it on the spot, and his strength instantly soared. He was so scared that he ran out of the crowd and said, "I'm going to break through. Hurry up and make way for me. I'm going into seclusion." This old Chiliarch had been stuck at the advanced general level for many years, and it was difficult for him to break through to the peak general level. Now that he had just taken the acupoint breakthrough pill, it was already effective. Everyone was envious of him. In the end, the remaining 4 meridian breaking pills were sold for more than 15,000 merit points. When Luigi announced that there were no more pills, he felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders, and he almost sat down to rest on the spot. He really didn't expect the market for pills to be so good. It had exceeded his expectations. He had thought that it would be good if he could sell a third of the pills. Now, they were all sold out in just over 2 hours. This was really beyond his expectations. However, what made him suffer the most wasn't the matter of the pills. Instead, it was the soldiers who had taken the opportunity to take advantage of him. While they were rushing to buy the pills, his butt, his waist, his chest, all of his sensitive areas had been attacked. Even Li Dazue and Deng Shuangmao couldn't resist. This really hurt him. "You disgusting bastards, I'm also a man." Luigi didn't know how many times he had shouted this, but no one believed him. This was the saddest thing in the world. Just as Luigi was about to go back to report on his mission, someone stopped them. "Everyone, General Sima requests your presence." The person who came announced his name. General Sima Natu. This was the deputy general who had followed the general to guard the border for 30 years. Although his position wasn't as high as the 8 lieutenant generals, there wasn't much of a difference. Luigi and the others were members of the Death Legion. They could ignore many military rules, but they couldn't ignore the general. They were brought in front of the general who was supervising this event. Simonado was sitting on a high platform. From here, he could overlook the battles on the 18 platforms. "Greetings, General Sima." Luigi and the others bowed to Sima Natu. "You are members of the Death Legion?" Sima Natu glanced at them. Then his gaze fell on Luigi. When Luigi met Sima Natu's gaze, he felt as if he had been electrocuted. His whole body felt uncomfortable, and his chest felt like it was being pressed down by a large rock. He almost couldn't breathe. Deng Shuangmao was the first to respond. "Yes, General. I didn't ask you. Back down." Sima Natu reprimanded. Deng Shuangmao seemed to be hit by a force. His body was pushed back, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Li Dazue, Huang Mogai, and Huang Minjing were all shocked. They knew that no one who could become a general was weak. Luigi caught his breath and said to Sima No, "General Sima, we are indeed soldiers of the Death Legion. May I know why General Sima has called us here?" Luigi was afraid, but he couldn't back down. He felt that he hadn't done anything wrong, and the other party wouldn't kill him on the spot. Besides, all of this was within his and Yang Wu's expectations. The commotion caused by the pills would definitely attract the attention of the higher-ups. He just didn't expect it to come so quickly. "You're a smart kid. You shouldn't have asked such a stupid question," Sima Nata said calmly. He seemed to be able to see through Luigi's thoughts. Luigi lowered his head, sweat dripping nonstop. He replied, "General Sima, you must be referring to the matter of the pills. Actually, we were just entrusted by the regiment commander. She knew that many people would be injured at this event, so she invited an alchemist to refine some pills for everyone. It could be considered as doing something for the army." "Did your commander really ask you to do it?" Sima Nata frowned. "I wouldn't dare lie to you. If you don't believe me, You can ask the commander, Lu Ji replied. Since when did she know an alchemist? Sima Nadu thought gloomily in his heart. Then he asked, does that mean that during this period of time, you can supply pills? I'm not too sure about that. We'll wait for the commander's orders, Lu Ji said vaguely. Sima Nadu continued to ask a few more questions, but Lu Ji pretended not to know anything. Only then did Sima Nadu wave his hand in dissatisfaction and let them leave. When Lu Ji left the high platform, his entire body was drenched. His legs were still trembling. He muttered in his heart, this kind of dangerous work isn't for a human to do. The effect caused by Lu Ji selling pills hadn't ended yet. In the evening of the same day, the great general held a high-ranking general meeting. The 8 great lieutenant generals were all present. There were also more than 10 deputy generals. The Rose of Death was also present. In front of the great general's desk, there were 4 different pills. They were the healing pill, chi boosting pill, meridian opening pill, and bone revitalization pill. Most of the people's gazes were directed towards the Rose of Death. Her face was covered, only revealing a pair of indifferent, beautiful eyes. Her alluring figure under her black clothes was very prominent. She stood there like a proud and aloof black lotus. She was surrounded by thorns, but she didn't move in the slightest. Rose, did you really get these pills? Great General Fun Tianxiong asked the Rose of Death. I don't have that kind of ability. The Rose of Death indifferently replied. Then which alchemy grandmaster made them? Can you introduce them to this general? Fun Tianxiong asked with a pleasant expression. I can't. The Rose of Death still indifferently replied. Nangong Rose, what kind of attitude is this? Is this how you talk to the great general? Chao Jianda unhappily reprimanded the Rose of Death. The Rose of Death simply ignored Chao Jianda and closed her eyes, making Chao Jianda very angry. Nangong Rose, you should know the importance of an alchemist to our army. Don't let your emotions affect your decisions. Tai Rue, who was also a woman, said to the Rose of Death. Nangong Rose, tell me where these pills came from. I don't believe that an alchemist would suddenly appear. Su Tinghong said, it's up to you to believe it or not. The Rose of Death said indifferently. Everyone was very clear about the Rose of Death's personality. They couldn't do anything to her. Soft methods wouldn't work, and even harder methods wouldn't work. Everything depended on the great general's ability. Rose, how many more of these pills do you have? Give them to us. This is your best choice. Fun Tianxiong said sincerely. Then he added, the barbarian race will head south at the beginning of spring. You have to think about the bigger picture. Do you have to sacrifice our troops for the bigger picture? The Rose of Death asked. Nangong Rose, pay attention to your attitude. Your death legions, people deserve to die. Letting you perform meritorious deeds on the battlefield is equivalent to resisting meritorious deeds. Don't push your luck. Chao Jianda said with dissatisfaction. Feng Tyson also said, that's right. Those who are sent to the Death Legion are all people who have committed serious crimes. Letting them die on the battlefield is the best ending. Hee, then there's nothing to talk about. The Rose of Death looked at them and sneered. Then she turned around to leave the tent. She didn't want to waste words with them because she was very clear about their moral character. They didn't care about the life and death of the Death Legion at all. Saying more was useless. Rose, come back. You have to think thrice before you act. You alone can't withstand the combined willpower. Fun Tianxiong said very patiently. Whatever. My subordinates and I are all people who will die anyways. The Rose of Death replied indifferently and left without hesitation. Chapter 182. In the most luxurious tent of the Death Legion, Yang Wu was learning alchemy day and night. He had no idea what was going on in the outside world. Ever since he cultivated the heart fire, his strength had suddenly increased greatly. He could slow down his cultivation and learn alchemy first. Before learning alchemy, he had to learn how to control the heart fire, the blue demoness. According to the basics of alchemy, controlling fire was a very difficult thing to do. However, it was not that difficult for Yang Wu. He felt that the summoned blue demoness was like a part of his body. Just like the hidden blade wings, he could make it big or small with a thought. It was completely within his control. Because of this, he could quickly skip the cultivation process of controlling fire and try to refine herbs. This step was more difficult to learn. Even if Yang Wu could control the heart fire as he wished, the herbs would shrink when they were hot. If there was anything wrong, they might all be burned. Little Hay did not guide Yang Wu. It had already passed on some of the basics to him. Everything depended on him to figure it out himself. Only then could he slowly master it. Little Hay took out another ancient cauldron for Yang Wu to practice. This ancient cauldron was also extraordinary. It was a bronze cauldron with 3 legs and 4 handles. There were many mysterious patterns on it. Every time the flames burned, these patterns would emit an inexplicable halo. Although it was not as high grade as the Shenong Immortal Cauldron, it was a rare immortal cauldron to the outside world. Even a saint alchemist would want to snatch it. Yang Wu did not care about the value of the bronze cauldron. He was meticulously refining the essence of the herbs. He used the mental power of the divine court to control the herbs to fly into the bronze cauldron. The heart fire burned outside the cauldron, roasting the essence of the herbs. One herb after another was directly burned and destroyed by him. Balls of waste fell into the cauldron, which made his heart ache. Even if these were just the most ordinary herbs, it would take time to collect them. I can even forcefully awaken the heart fire. I don't believe that I can't refine these small herbs. Yang Wu had never been a person who gave up easily. He meditated on the basics of alchemy in the divine court and Little Hay's usual appearance. He began to refine pills again. The 101st failure, the 102nd failure, the 103rd failure. After 200 failures, he finally succeeded in extracting the essence of the herb. After the first successful experience, the second time was much easier. After that, he basically succeeded in refining 1 out of every 3 herbs. Not long after, he could successfully refine 1 out of every 2 herbs. After 2 days, he finally reached a success rate of 70 to 80%. This kind of herb extraction efficiency was already considered to be extremely shocking. The average alchemy grandmaster was only at this level. All of this was attributed to the miraculous nature of the flame of heart. It could move according to his thoughts, and the degree of control of the flame was extremely exquisite. After completing the step of refining the essence of the medicine, the next step was to gather the various essences into a ball. Finally, it was to cool down and solidify into a pill. These 2 steps were also very crucial. If he made even the slightest mistake, he would not be able to refine a real pill. Over the next 2 days, Yang Wu wasted a large amount of medicinal herb essences and failed more than 10 times in a row. It was so torturous that he was on the verge of a mental breakdown. "Kid, stop if you can't do it. Don't waste the herbs," Little Hay advised. It would have been better if it had not advised him. The more it advised, the more unconvinced Yang Wu was. He gritted his teeth and continued to refine pills. Finally, after 35 failures, he succeeded in condensing a furnace of pills. At this time, the flame was burning the furnace, and the firepower had reached its peak. Yang Wu scolded softly, "Withdraw the fire." The flame of heart shrank back into his heart in an instant. He made a series of hand seals, and a stream of water, qi, rolled over and enveloped the furnace, completely cooling it down. Sizzle. A burst of white smoke rose from the bronze furnace. The walls of the furnace quickly cooled down, and the heat in the furnace naturally shrank. The pills were also affected by the change in temperature and became more and more solid. In the end, whether the pills were formed or not would be known after the lid was lifted. After doing all this, Yang Wu directly fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Obviously, he was too weak and looked exhausted. If he had not reached the advanced general realm and had not been supported by a huge amount of power, he would have been exhausted. Refining pills was not only a kind of technical work, but also a kind of physical work. Yang Wu stuffed a qi-boosting pill into his mouth and quickly recovered his strength. He needed to stand up and see if his pills were formed or not. Little Hay had said that taking pills was not good for a solid foundation, but the qi-boosting pill had no effect on Yang Wu's realm. At most, it could only restore his strength. Moreover, the the peach core dantian could also purify his strength. As long as he did not eat them as food, they would not have much effect. After Yang Wu recovered some strength, he stood up and nervously opened the lid of the furnace. At this time, Little Hay also climbed onto Yang Wu's shoulder to see if the pills were really condensed. When the furnace was opened, he found that there were indeed 2 solidified pills in the furnace. However, they were not as round and shiny as the pills refined by Little Hay. They were similar to the pills sold outside. Haha, I did it! Yang Wu laughed with great joy. From the beginning of controlling the fire, refining the pills, to now forming the pills, it took him 5 days and 5 nights to successfully refine 2 pills. This kind of joy was not something that ordinary people could understand. Yang Wu had never thought that he would become an alchemist one day. He really felt like he was in a dream. How can such low-quality pills be called pills? You have to refine them properly. Little Hay poured cold water on Yang Wu. Yang Wu did not care at all. He was already used to Little Hay's teasing. He replied, "Just wait and see. It won't be long before I can refine pills like the ones you refined." "I hope that day comes," Little Hay replied. Yang Wu put away the 2 pills. He planned to keep them for himself as a memento. Then, he continued to refine pills. He had to master the feeling of forming pills as soon as possible to increase his success rate. Yang Wu did not know what was going on outside, nor did he know that Lu Ji had become a popular figure. Young Marshal, the major general challenge competition, was already more than halfway through. More than half of the people had been eliminated, and even a few would-be major generals had been eliminated. This showed how fierce the battles on the challenge platform were. The woman Yang Wu knew, Nan Runan, was also a would-be major general. She had crushed all her opponents with her strong strength, and had not been defeated so far. In addition, Wan Lanxing's performance was also outstanding. She had eliminated all her opponents. It was worth mentioning that Wan Lanxing had received the acupoint breaking pill from Li Dazue, which allowed her to directly advance to the top level of the human general realm and qualify her to compete for the position of a major general. At first, Wan Lanxing did not dare to accept the pills from Li Dazue. However, when she saw the note from Li Dazue, she accepted them with peace of mind. This was a gift from Yang Wu. There were a total of 10 pills. There were 6 healing pills, 2 chi-boosting pills, and 2 acupoint-breaking pills. These pills were not just for her. She still had to give 1 pill each to little man. Wan Lanxing knew the value of these pills very well. She could not understand where Yang Wu had gotten the energy to get so many pills at once. She also found that she had not seen Yang Wu for so many days. Many times when she wanted to find Yang Wu after a challenge, she was mercilessly asked to go back by Zhou Yong, who was guarding outside Yang Wu's door. Zhou Yong had become Yang Wu's personal bodyguard. He had also received the acupoint breaking pill from Yang Wu and squeezed into the top level of the general realm. He was already unswervingly loyal to Yang Wu. The reason why Yang Wu chose Zhou Yong as his personal bodyguard and not the other commanders was naturally because of the relationship between Zhou Yong and Lu Ji. Without Zhou Yong, he would not have discovered Lu Ji. This was karma. Now, after Lu Ji went to sell the pills in person 3 days ago, he did not dare to go by himself for the next few days. As soon as he appeared, he would immediately be surrounded by crazy people. Not only did everyone want to trade the pills in his hands, but they also kept taking advantage of him. He really could not stand it anymore. He had no choice but to arrange for others to go and sell the pills. In any case, the effects of the pills had already been aroused. He was not afraid that no one would buy them. The popularity of the pills would naturally arouse the greed of some people. However, the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant personally came out and declared that they would fight to the death if anyone dared to snatch the pills from the Death Legion. This deterred some people who wanted to take advantage of the situation. These were 2 great kings. If they went all out, the entire legion would be shaken. Because of this matter, the higher-ups were deeply hurt. They were certain that the Rose of Death had befriended an alchemist. Otherwise, how could they provide so many pills? If it were them, they would not have such ability. Because of this, they met many times to discuss. In the end, they still decided to invite the Rose of Death for a discussion. At first, The Rose of Death did not pay any attention. It was only when Sima Nadu personally came to invite her that she once again descended into the marshal's tent. Fun Tianxiong went straight to the point. Rose, you must have a motive for creating such a situation. State your conditions. This time, other than Fun Tianxiong, there were only 8 lieutenant generals. The other deputy generals were not included. The Rose of Death had waited for so long. Naturally, it was for this day. She immediately stated her conditions. I don't want the great general to treat everyone in the Death Legion equally. However, you must give them some military supplies. The war will begin next spring. Many of them don't even have suitable weapons. If you want them to die, you have to let them die with some value, right? Also, winter is coming. Shouldn't you prepare some winter items for them? Otherwise, they will all die before they even enter the battlefield. Who will be the vanguard then? The Rose of Death raised a series of questions. She was only responsible for speaking and did not ask for specific conditions. Everything was up to Fun Tianxiong to make the decision. Fun Tianxiong felt that the Rose of Death conditions were not excessive. Even if the others had objections, they would be suppressed by him. He made a request to the Rose of Death. I want to see that alchemist. Chapter 183. Everyone knew what an alchemist meant. Fun Tianxiong gave in to the Rose of Death because he wanted something. He was a grand marshal who held great authority over the military and had a respected status. However, it was difficult for him to find an alchemist by his side. In the Grand Xia dynasty, the number of alchemists could be counted on one hand. Most of them worked for the Medicine King's pavilion and the imperial family. The remaining few were eccentric and disdained to work with others. Now that an alchemist had appeared in the army, he naturally didn't want to let him go. He had to find a way to recruit him. How could the Rose of Death push Yang Wu out so easily? She said lightly, "The alchemist doesn't want to see anyone. If the general needs to refine pills, you can prepare the herbs. The alchemist can help you refine some pills, but only those below the king pill level." I can't even see him? Fun Tianxiong said with some dissatisfaction. The general should know what kind of person the alchemist is. It's not easy for me to see him. If it wasn't for his successor in my army, that master wouldn't have appeared. The Rose of Death replied. That alchemist has a successor in your army? Fun Tianxiong was shocked. Who in your Death Legion is so lucky? Fu Rong asked from his side. The other lieutenant generals were also very curious. The soldiers in the Death Legion were dead people in their eyes. Who would have such good luck to be chosen by an alchemist? If that was the case, they couldn't help but pay attention to the alchemist's successor. Yang Wu, the Rose of Death, said calmly. What? How could it be him? Chao Jianda was the first to cry out. How could it not be him? The pills being sold outside were all made by Yang Wu's master. Otherwise, do you think I have the ability to order a master alchemist? The Rose of Death said. She made up an alchemist master for Yang Wu. It was nothing more than giving Yang Wu another safeguard. She was very clear that Yang Wu had provoked a lot of people, and those people wanted to put him to death. She couldn't protect Yang Wu all the time. Yang Wu had bragged that he was an alchemist, and this identity couldn't be exposed. Once it was exposed, Yang Wu would be in even more danger. Then, the appearance of a mysterious master might be even more intimidating. Sure enough, after Fun Tianxiong and the others heard what the Rose of Death said, they all revealed worried expressions. They felt that the Rose of Death's words were probably true. Otherwise, who would take out pills to trade with the army for no reason, unless their brain was fried? All right, then I want him to refine some pills for me. I wonder what the price is. Fun Tianxiong asked again. According to an alchemist's habit, 5 portions of each ingredient can be prepared and 1 pill can be handed over. However, this alchemist's success rate is extremely high. He only needs 3 portions of ingredients to give us 1 pill. This is the alchemist's bottom line. The Rose of Death said. After pausing for a moment, she continued. Don't think about looking for the whereabouts of that person. His strength is above mine, and he has always appeared and disappeared unpredictably. He might be someone from another world. You're on your own. The words another world greatly shocked the people present. Although they had extraordinary statuses in the Grand Xia Empire, they were still far from being able to compare to the other world. Thus, Fen Tianxiong didn't continue to argue and agreed to the Rose of Death's request. He also prepared to send the large amount of ingredients accumulated in the back of the warehouse to the Death Core for that alchemist to refine pills. At the same time, the Rose of Death couldn't let people go to the challenge stage to trade pills. Everything had to be done in the military. The Rose of Death naturally didn't care. In any case, her goal had been achieved. She believed that nothing would happen to Yang Wu during this period of time. The challenge stage had already entered a white-hot stage. The top 500 had already been determined. These were the elites of the younger generation and the future pillars of the military. On the third challenge stage, Wan Lanxin faced off against Li Ziying. Wan Lanxin carried a blue spear and wore a suit of battle armor. Her beautiful hair was simply tied up. Her slender and well-proportioned figure could be seen without a doubt. Every part of her exposed skin presented a healthy wheat color. She didn't have the delicate skin color of other beauties, but she had her own unique, pure fragrance. It was enough for her to gather a large amount of popularity in the military. Lan Xin, do your best. Get rid of that oily and powdery face guy. Lan Xin, I love you. I believe you will be invincible. Other than the Rose of Death, Wan Lanxin was the second military beauty to be called a golden flower. It was enough to show how great her charm was. Li Ziying, who was opposite Wan Lanxin, was the biggest dark horse in this challenge. He was originally a prison warden, but this time his master, Wang Jiucheng, was invited by the military and left the prison warden with him. He wanted to come to the military to build a career and avenge his father at the same time. His father's death was related to the woman in front of him who used to like him. Lan Xin, I didn't expect that we would meet again on this challenge stage, Li Ziying said with a somewhat sinister smile. I didn't expect it. Wan Lanxin nodded lightly. She didn't have a good impression of this man who used to be entangled with her. However, to be able to see an old friend again, she also missed the days in the mountain prison. Lan Xin, I have a question to ask you. Go ahead. Is my father's death related to you? That's right. Then go to hell. Li Ziying attacked as soon as he said he would. The golden spear in his hand drew a beautiful arc that contained a rather overbearing power. In an instant, it had crossed a distance of several feet and pierced toward Wan Lanxin's heart. Wan Lanxin raised her eyebrows. Her reaction was not slow either. After she dodged the spear, she did not stop and rushed toward Li Ziying. At the same time, she pulled out her blue spear and blasted it toward Li Ziying with a domineering sweep. Li Ziying had reached the peak of the human general realm, and so had Wan Lanxin. This was definitely a preview of the battle between the major generals. Li Ziying had improved so quickly because of Wang Jiucheng's training, and he had also taken some shortcuts. Wan Lanxin had also reached this stage because of some opportunities given to her by Yang Wu. Their realms were not very stable. They had to go through some fights to completely stabilize their realms. The two people's combat power was equal, and the fight was extremely fierce. The two spears emitted two completely different forces that collided continuously, causing the challenge platform to explode and shake repeatedly. The two people had fought for no less than 300 moves. Both of them had begun to suffer injuries, but there was still no winner. The people watching the battle below the stage exclaimed repeatedly. They were all attracted by this wonderful battle and were excited. After the two people fought for one move, they separated. Li Ziying revealed a ferocious smile and shouted, I used to love you so much, but today I have to kill you with my own hands. It's really a sad thing. Do you have the ability to do that? Wan Lanxin asked seriously. Then open your eyes and take a good look. After Li Ziying responded, he took a deep breath and released an inexplicable evil spirit from his body. Strands of evil blood essence twitched, and the evil blood essence combined with his gold xianqi. His power rose steadily, and the shadow of a blood-colored golden spear turned into many blood skeletons that charged forward. Woo-woo. The blood skeletons were very lifelike, and they were very evil and scary. They gave people a feeling of fear before they even arrived. Fen Yaoyang, who was below the stage, was watching the battle. He was very concerned about Wan Lanxin. When Li Ziying used this move, he frowned and said, "What kind of evil technique is this person cultivating?" What Dong Shui, who was beside him, said, "It should be an evil technique related to evil blood essence. He has lost a lot of weight. After using this move, he will lose some of his blood essence. If this continues, he will definitely die." "Who is he?" Fen Yaoyang asked again. "He is the disciple of a king that General Fu invited from the Wolf Smoke prison field," Hua Dong Shui replied. "Yes, Lan Xin is in danger. Give me that superior healing pill," Fen Yaoyang said softly. In the next moment, Wan Lanxin could not block Li Ziying's attack. Her armor was pierced, and there was a bloody hole in her shoulder. Her body flew out heavily. Li Ziying did not take advantage of the situation to pursue. His attack could not kill Wan Lanxin at the moment, but he had a backup plan. The evil blood skeletons would invade her body and slowly erode her life force. It would not be long before she died. "Father, rest in peace. I will avenge you," Li Ziying said in his heart. When Fen Yaoyang and Hua Dong Shui wanted to save Wan Lanxin, they found that Wan Lanxin was being carried by the little man and was quickly leaving with the others. They could not stop them in time. "Young Marshal, do you want to follow them?" Hua Dong Shui asked. "No need. They are from the Death Legion. They have healing pills. Lanxin should be fine." Fen Yaoyang waved his hand and said, "Is it related to Yang Wu?" Hua Dong Shui asked doubtfully. "Yes, I heard that kid is the disciple of an alchemy master. In the future, try not to have any conflicts with him," Fen Yaoyang replied softly. "But he's a threat to you. Women are born to worship the strong. When I become the young marshal, she will know who is more suitable to choose." "You are right, young marshal." On the other side of the challenge platform, the fifth prince, Tang Chuncheng, was also making a challenge disguised as an ordinary soldier. The fifth prince had already reached the advanced general realm. He had obtained an acupoint breaking pill from the army, which helped him break through in one fell swoop. With his trump card, he could fight against a top general realm expert. The fifth prince was in high spirits. He thought that he could at least qualify as a major general with his combat strength. Although he did not care about the title, if he could perform well, it would be a bonus when he returned to the royal family. Of course, he was more concerned about joining the forces of the state and becoming one of their inner disciples. Unfortunately, although he had a good dream, reality was cruel. He was knocked off the platform by Chao Qinggong in this battle. What was worse was that one of his hands was cut off by Chao Qinggong. This time, the matter was completely blown out of proportion.